Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but throughout the world. But to welcome to the program this week four distinctive and diverse personalities who are going to play Just a Minute. And they are, seated on my right, we have great pleasure in welcoming back that outstanding comedian and fine exponent of this game, Paul Merton. And seated beside him, we have representing the distaff side, that lovely actress and comedy performer, Sue Perkins. And seated on my left, we have another, most irrepressible, engaging comedian and presenter, that is Graham Norton. And beside him, another fine comedy performer and a comedy writer, Tony Hawks. Would you please welcome all four of them? And as usual, I am going to ask them to speak on a subject that I will give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me with the score, and she'll blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Colston Hall in that fine city of Bristol. And as you can hear, we have a fine Bristol audience in front of us here. Oh, I know this town well, a city from my youth. And they're all just eager and ready for us to get started.
Are they from Northumberland?
So we'll start with Graham Norton. Why not? Oh, Graham, we've got a subject here for you to start with, because last time you were in Just a Minute, you went off at some length about monkeys. So the producer have thought of this subject for you to start the show. Brass monkeys. Could you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
Although brass monkeys are not as cute or entertaining as real monkeys when having a tea party, they are undoubtedly easier to clean. Take an old bit of curtain and a can of brass out to an actual chimp. They won't thank you, no. In fact, it will turn into an incident of carnage. And they have teeth, those chimps. But that's not brass monkeys. No.
Sue Perkins' challenge.
Was there repetition of chimps?
Yes, you did talk about the chimps.
Was it
before.
chimp and chimps?
You said chimpanzees before, didn't you?
No, he said chimp and then chimps.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, that.
You get these sharp challenges from those who play the game a lot. No, it was chimp and chimps, so it's a single and a plural. So he wasn't repeating anything. Graham is an incorrect challenge. A point to you, and you keep the subject, and there are 39 seconds still available. Brass monkeys starting now.
On boats in the olden days, brass monkeys were what you put your cannonballs on. And when it was cold, something would happen, I don't really understand it. And those things that you would put in a cannon, which is different from the other thing I said, because that's all one word, I'm pretty sure, they'd fall off. Hence the expression...
Tony Hawks' challenge.
Actually, I thought he was hesitating, but I don't think he did.
No, I think he was going. I don't think so. No? Sue Perkins, you want to...
Did he put something in twice?
Yes, he did.
Is that a fair cop, Graham?
No. But you know Graham's
Anyone
nature.
thinks I'm listening to myself. I don't know.
So he did, but your challenge came too late, because Tony's first was an incorrect one. So...
Yeah.
Can I change mine to repetition of put?
No, it's too late now, sorry. So, Graham, another incorrect challenge, another point to you. Keep going on brass monkeys for 19 seconds, if you can, starting now.
Brass monkeys, look at them shine as they fly through the trees. It is very rare to see them.
Sue challenge.
How exactly does a brass monkey fly?
Right. A brass
throw
monkey...
it.
No. Graham, that is perfectly possible, but I think logically Sue's challenge is correct. In other words, she has the benefit of the doubt, and no.
Don't turn on me now.
Talking. Listen, audience, don't be too partisan. To justify my decision, he did not justify during the round that you throw it to point to fly through the trees. He didn't justify it. That was after she had challenged.
Yeah,
so it is entirely
audience.
fair that Sue Perkins has the thing. And if you're going to start making those sort of noises, there'll be problems. Right, so Sue, you have the subject of brass monkeys. 14 seconds, starting now.
Whilst walking through the jungle, I was hit on the head by what appeared to be a flying monkey.
Graham challenge.
This is nonsense.
Graham, it may seem nonsense, but she did preface it by saying what appeared to be a flying monkey.
You see where you went wrong?
Yes.
Yes, so
I'm a fool.
we have to be fair to Sue again. Say a point for you for a correct challenge, Sue. 9 seconds on brass monkeys starting now.
However ridiculous it was, at the end of this projectile of a chimpanzee nature, I noticed Graham Norton skulking in the bushes, firing with a catapult a selection of knickknacks.
Paul, you challenged.
I mean, we didn't really establish that these were brass monkeys, did we? We just had monkey before, so it's not really brass monkey, so it's not on the subject, so it's deviation.
Yes, we're on the subject of chimpanzees.
I tell you, that's
Listen, I've got to speak to the audience here. If you're going to boo every challenge...
I thought that was an impressed ooh. I don't think they thought, oh, quel challenge.
We're not doing this for your benefit, you know. We are.
I think, as always...
We'll do it in the car outside.
Yeah.
No, Paul, I think it's a justified challenge of deviation. So you take over the subject. There's half a second to go. And you have brass monkeys starting now.
You shouldn't put bras on monkeys.
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point, and it was Paul Merton. So Paul Merton, Sue Perkins and Graham Norton are all equal with 2 points at the end of the first round. Isn't it exciting? And Sue Perkins, will you take the next round? The subject now is all the tea in China. Interesting expression. Please talk about it. If you can, 60 seconds starting now.
Not for all the tea in China is my grandmother's favourite expression, alongside what's the point of you and he's not your real father, you know. All delivered while supping from a large vat of absinthe and sucking mincemeat through her teeth, which is a speciality of the Perkins household. It's a strange phrase, this one. It implies an enormous quantity. All the tea in China, a vast expanse of growing material. However, with climate change, one can only presume that this is reducing incredibly, and so one will have to look for more great sayings that imply an enormity of stuff.
Graham, you challenged.
Repetition of saying.
Yes. Ooh. All this saying, yes.
That was an odd response. What did that mean?
I think that was an audience ooh rather than a boo, and so they were suitably impressed, Graham.
Were they? Were they?
With the correct
I think
challenge.
actually they're thinking, I
Right.
wonder if he's right.
And so,
Because that's what I'm wondering.
so Graham, you have all the tea in China.
Oh, have I? Oh, marvellous.
No, you don't have. You have the subject.
Okay.
All the tea in China, and 26 seconds available starting now.
I would need all the tea in China if I were going to have the chimps tea party of my dreams.
Sue challenge.
Repetition of chimps.
No, that was in the other round, Sue.
Well, I'm carrying it on. It's in my mind.
We can't be challenged on every single word we've ever said on Just a Minute, sure. That's going to make it really difficult.
Yeah.
If you challenge on a word he's used in another round, I see you say, we'd never get going at all, would you?
I was testing you, you silver fox.
I have to listen to every word. Clement, no, where are you?
Clement. Listens to every word.
Every word.
Listens
I have to explain
every
to our
word.
listeners immediately that Sue Perkins is sitting in the chair,
I'm not
which
Sue
is
Perkins, I'm Kenneth Williams.
normally occupied by Clement Freud, and so it was instinctive for me to say Clement then rather than Sue Perkins. So Sue Perkins in Clement Freud's chair.
Sue, you've been mistaken for a man in his 80s.
Yes. I tell you, it feels good. It really does.
Sue, sorry, incorrect challenge. So,
Just look at me very carefully through
that's
the
right.
enormous prisms that are your glasses.
Sue, I wasn't using my eyes. I was using my brain. It just came out of the top of my head. 'Cause I looked and
Some of us can use both at the same time.
That's what I will try and do. It's quite a good tip. Thank you very much indeed. So, Graham Norton, an incorrect challenge, and so you have the subject and you have all the tea in
Yes.
China, and 19 seconds starting now.
The trouble with all the tea in China is it stains the ape's teeth quite badly. And they don't like the milk, they prefer lemon. I've noticed when organising these soirees with my hairy friends. All the tea in China. That must be quite a lot, I'm imagining, because they love tea.
Now, it's a very interesting thing. It's never happened before. Sue and Paul's lights in front of me, which indicate they pressed their buzzer first, have come on together.
No,
Yes.
what happens is it then passes over to the other player of the game.
I'll tell you what I'll
Frankly,
do
he hasn't
then.
said anything so far.
Well, Tony, I'll tell you what I will do there. Because they enjoyed your particular remark, I will give you a bonus point for that. Right. As this has never happened before, what I thought we might do for a bit of fun, because it's never happened before, and there's only 2 seconds to go.
Okay.
Sue and Paul both speak together for 2 seconds on All the Tea in China, starting now.
All the tea in China is...
So Sue Perkins and Paul Merton were both speaking together as the whistle went, and they both get a bonus point for doing so. And at the end of that round, Graham Norton's in the lead, just one ahead of Sue and Paul, and then comes Tony. And Graham, back with you to begin. The subject now is guerrilla tactics.
I'm delighted.
Will you tell us something about guerrilla tactics, starting now?
Gorillas are fascinating apes. Not as cute as a chimp, but still nice. I'm not quite sure what their tactics are for, but they obviously include picking...
Tony challenge.
Was there a hesitation?
Yeah, there was a little hesitation there, I think, Tony.
That's my first challenge. I apologise to Graham. I had to be completely mean.
Yes,
there.
no, absolutely.
Otherwise, in danger.
He'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And
I
I'll
was in danger of getting the 20 grand fee and not saying much.
It rarely happens when you appear on the show, Tony, but you held yourself back remarkably well up to this point, and you have 50 seconds now to tell us something about guerrilla tactics, starting now.
I have 2 brass gorillas, and I keep them up in the loft with the monkeys that are made of a similar material, and they like to play chess using very clever tactics. They take the pawn, move it forward 2 spaces, the other one sits there appreciatively.
Graham challenge.
Now, repetition of 2. I'm pretty sure I'm right here.
Yes, he did repeat 2.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yes, you
There were
did.
2 of the brass gorillas.
And I'm not allowed to do that.
No,
Is it-
you don't have to do that.
Oh, Sue, yes.
Is it just the opening move you're allowed to move it forward to? I
Yeah.
mean, obviously your first gorilla would be able to do that. Your second gorilla wouldn't have that
Yes,
option.
the whole thing was a nonsense, Tony.
That's just not a very good tactic.
Nobody seems to be asking how these brass gorillas are playing chess. They're made of brass.
It
When I
depends
get the
on-
subject back,
It
I'll
depends
tell
on
you.
the type of gorilla.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a chimp, then he moves like a knight, 1 to the side and 2 forward. And if it's an ape, he moves like the rook, straight up or straight across. And the queen, I know nothing about. So you had a correct challenge of repetition, Graham, and you have 36 seconds. Guerrilla tactics, starting now.
Guerrilla tactics are presumably just to get more food, so they pick their nose and pleasure themselves in attire in zoos. This is so people find them adorable, when in fact they're just huge. They scream. Why? They only eat leaves. What are they trying to frighten apart from David Attenborough? I don't understand. They are vicious creatures and they have no enemy.
Paul challenge.
Did we have creatures before?
I don't think I said it.
No, Tony talked about the creatures.
Oh,
of
that's
his
why I
attic.
probably heard it then.
So, incorrect challenge, Paul. Graham has another point, and guerrilla tactics still with you, Graham. 13 seconds, starting now.
13 seconds can seem like quite a long time.
Paul, you challenge first.
I think it was when Graham went... "Oh, thanks." No, I suppose we could. That was hesitation.
That was hesitation.
I think
yes.
it was resignation.
It was, and all the buzzers went, but yours came on first, Paul, thank goodness, in the sense that it gives me an easy decision. 12 seconds, guerrilla tactics with you, Paul, starting now.
Monkeys are obsessed with fresh breath. So what they do is they have small little peppermint sweets.
Graham challenge.
Nice talking about monkeys.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Yeah,
it's,
not gorillas.
Oh no.
yes, it's gorillas.
It's gorillas.
So that is deviation.
Yep.
So you've got it back again,
Great.
Graham.
I've taken the curse off it for you.
You've got another point, and you're moving forward, you're catching Paul up, and you've got 7 seconds. Go on, guerrilla tactics, starting now.
Sometimes in the zoo, you can see the gorillas gathering.
Paul
in
challenge.
the zoo.
Repetition of zoo.
You talked about the zoo before?
Yes, I did.
Going there.
Well, let's face it, it's quite limited. It's zoo, jungle, or Tony's attic.
Paul, you've gone in first. 5 seconds to go on guerrilla tactics, starting now.
To understand guerrilla tactics in the modern age, you must go to the army. These people are specialists in security.
So Paul Merton, once again, was speaking as the whistle went. Gained that extra point, and he's still in the lead, ahead of Graham Norton in second place, then Sue Perkins, and then Tony Hawks. And Sue, we'd like you to begin the next round. And the subject is the orchestra pit. There's no orchestra pit here, but you know it well. Talk about it if you can. 60 seconds, starting now.
The orchestra pit was an ancient gladiatorial arena where the emperors of Rome watched as flautists versus bassoonists in the most disgusting, vicious spectacle. The harpists would then turn up, and they were the most evil of all. The great lord ruler of the ancient...
Tony challenged.
I think she said evil twice.
That's interesting, isn't it, everyone?
You seem to be the only one here out of 1,700 people.
I have to say that the evidence isn't looking too good. The audience response, unless there was collective deafness.
No, I was doing a very quick recall through my mental capacities, and I didn't hear the evil bit.
We're safe as houses then.
Yeah.
Okay, Sue, incorrect challenge. 45 seconds on the orchestra pit, starting now.
The orchestra pit is a large hall in front...
Graham challenged.
She's talking about the orchestra put.
You did say
I've got a sort of Croydonian burr. It's quite hard for people to understand.
They're like poodles, aren't they?
No, I think that's deviation from English as we understand it, so...
That's my accent you're talking about.
No, it was much closer to a Bristol accent, actually, orchestra pit. Right, so...
I say much.
No, a benefit of the doubt. I've given it against you before. This is why I'm always fair, Graham. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt on this occasion, so you take over the orchestra pit. 43 seconds, starting now.
The orchestra pit seems like a particularly cruel thing. You study the violin for 15 years. Finally, you're ready to perform in front of an audience. Where should it be? On a golden cushion in a lovely field? No, in that pit. Go on, get in there. Your brother's a miner, you're a violinist, you end up in a pit.
Put Tony challenge.
Repetition of violinist.
Yes, that's right.
All right.
Yes. So, Tony, you've gone in with 25 seconds on the orchestra pit, starting now.
The orchestra pit is empty tonight. They are all in St Paul's and Horfield, two areas of Bristol I researched before the show and haven't used. I have got myself a needless and unnecessary laugh from saying that. I have always wanted to play in an orchestra pit, the violin, any...
If I'm to be disallowed my put, then a prit, surely.
Absolutely, Sue, completely fair, hoisted on his own petard almost, but it does illustrate to our listeners the difficulty of keeping going under pressure in this game. So pit became prit, and you got the benefit.
It could have been worse.
There's always one in the orchestra.
So, Sue, you've got the orchestra pit. No, you haven't, you've got the orchestra pit, 7 seconds, starting now.
I entirely agree with Graham. I believe that the young musician should be brought onto the stage and the actors and actresses should be cast into the dark bowels below.
So, Sue Perkins was speaking then as the whistle went, gained that extra point. She's moved forward. She's still in third place, but she's moved. But she's only 2 behind Graham Norton, and he's a couple behind Paul Merton, and they're all 3 a few ahead of Tony Hawks. And no disrespect, Tony, because you've often triumphed in the past in the show. And Paul, we're back with you to begin, and the subject is the gold rush. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
The Californian gold rush happened, I believe, around about the 1870s, and Charlie Chaplin made a film called The Gold Rush, which was released in 1925. And
Tony challenged.
No, I thought he'd repeated 19, but he was 1870s, you said the first time.
Yes, 1870s, yes.
Yes, no.
It's one of those things, if you play regularly, they think that 19's coming up twice.
Yes, I thought I was going to be clever.
Yes. No.
And I wasn't.
So, Paul, an incorrect challenge, and you have 52 seconds to continue on the gold rush, starting now.
When he re-released the movie in 1914...
Yeah. One of the pitfalls of just a minute, dates. Tony anticipated it, but he got it right that time. Tony, you're in there with 49 seconds on the gold rush starting now.
There is something of a gold rush going on in Britain at the moment with this government, who are desperate to have gold medals in the Olympics when it comes here. They are cutting money from the arts and pumping it into useless events that nobody really does, just so that they can do well in the table that comes out on the thing, the list.
Sue Perkins, you challenge.
Hesitation, running out of steam, and repetition of they about 7 times.
Which one do you want? You can't have 2 challenges.
Can't I?
No. Which one?
Which one do you think?
Some great show. Which one are you going to pick?
No, there was no hesitation.
You said they a lot.
No, there was no hesitation. So, Tony, you can't whip the audience up to be all on your side.
Trust me. If I have to take them out one by one and whip them, I will.
You don't have to do that. They're with you anyway. But, Tony, an incorrect challenge. 30 seconds on the gold rush, starting now.
When they first...
To Graham challenge.
Repetition of they.
Yeah, you had they before. You should have started.
I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, gosh.
It's quite hard not to say they.
I know. It's a tough game. And with tough players as well, it's even more nail-biting. 29 seconds. The gold rush with you, Graham, starting now.
It's hard to imagine what the gold rush was like, but presumably it was similar to the opening day of a new IKEA store. Thousands of people running aimlessly towards something. The Klondike, I believe. What a lot of gold there must have been. I can say gold, can't I? Yes, I can, because, of course, that's part of the subject. The Gold Rush, to give it its full name, was what they did.
Sue,
Repetition of name.
You mentioned the name before. So, Sue, you listen well, and you have the gold rush with 6 seconds starting now.
Strangely, they opted to pan for gold with a sieve, which is the most unlikely implement, presumably all that they had to hand.
Right, so, so let me give you the score, because we're moving into the final round. It's a very strange noise.
They're going to use these audience noises forever now. I need 1,700 people being slightly surprised.
I don't know if it was an ooh or a boo or an orgasm. It really was a very...
Have you been visiting those women again?
So I'll give you the situation as we go into the final round. Tony Hawks, who's done very well on many occasions in the past on this show. No, don't.
I've done very well on this occasion, Nick.
You've done magnificently. You've leapt forward. You're still in 4th place, but you have leapt. You're not many points behind Sue Perkins, and she's only 2 behind Graham Norton and Paul Merton, who are equal in the lead at this moment, as we begin the last round with Graham, and the subject is the missing link. Tell us something about that subject in this game, if you can, starting now.
Somewhere in the mists of time, Mr. Ape stopped being that and turned into a human being. Who was the missing link? That's what I long to know, ladies and gentlemen. Often I can't sleep. I have to stay up and watch those terrible quizzes on ITV because it bothers me that we don't know the name of the missing link.
Sue, challenge.
Repetition of no.
You don't know, that's it, yes. You don't know who the missing link was.
I think it was Harold Peters.
Was it?
The name of the missing link was Harold Peters. Yeah.
Oh.
Really? I must write this down.
Yeah. He came out, he went into the cave and ape and he came out as an estate agent. Harold Peters, the missing link.
That's a step backwards.
It is a step backwards. Evolution gone mad.
So, Sue Perkins, a correct challenge, a point to you, the missing link, and you have 38 seconds starting now.
In the beginning was primordial soup, which I believe was chicken and mushroom flavoured. Then some electricity went in it from a source who knows where that came from, another planet.
Paul, challenge.
Oh, well, we haven't got to the missing link yet.
It's coming.
Yes. I don't mind waiting.
I've got to take
Currently it is missing.
Yeah.
No, but she has gone for nearly 10 seconds without establishing this missing link. So I think it's justified by saying, as I said before...
I was taking you on a rich journey, Nicholas, about the beginnings of time. And if you don't have the time to listen to it...
But, I mean,
Sue,
millions of years
just a
from the
minute. You can't do the beginning.
I think in just a minute...
We'd have to play Just a Millennium.
I think 10 seconds. Anyway, I think the trick of the show is to establish immediately the link before you start talking about it. Otherwise, you are going to commit one of the crimes of just a minute. And this occasion, Paul got in first with 29 seconds to go. The missing link starting now.
I have a beautiful necklace at home, but sadly I can't wear it because there is, of course, a missing link. When I tried to put it on the other day, I gazed in the mirror and I thought to myself, I have never been lovelier. And then I realised, as I reached my jewellery box, that I couldn't put it on because the missing link...
Tony, challenge.
Was there a repetition of put it on?
Yes, you did put it on before. That's right. Well, listen, Tony. Well,
It's a nice image, though.
Yes.
I look very good. I do look very good in the necklace, don't I, Nicholas? Don't I?
You look lovely in it, but I would have thought it was deviation from what we imagined.
You gave it to me.
Oh.
Do you remember giving me that pearl necklace, Nicholas?
I thought you would never tell them, Paul.
Do you remember?
I thought it was our little secret. Oh, there we are.
Oh, now that's a picture.
That's a picture. There we are. So, Tony, you had the correct challenge. You have 10 seconds. The missing link starting now.
I agree with the theory Paul Merton has on this subject, that the missing link is a man called Harold Peters, who went into a cave as a primordial figure and returned shortly afterwards as...
So Tony Hawks was then speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point for doing so. He has moved forward. I'll give you the final situation. It's very fair. It's very even. Only 1 point separates all four of them. So in ascending order, it was Tony Hawks, then Sue Perkins, then Graham Norton, and then one ahead, Paul Merton. So we say Paul, one ahead, makes you the winner this week. Congratulations. For me to say thank you to these four fine players of the game, Paul Merton, Sue Perkins, Graham Norton and Tony Hawks. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score and blown her whistle so magnificently, and we are indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. We're grateful to our producer, to Lucia Galani, and we are also very grateful to this amazing audience here in the Colston Hall in Bristol, who have really expressed themselves with fervour and made it a memorable occasion. So from our audience, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team, goodbye, and tune in the next time we play Just a Minute.
And there'll be more Just a Minute shenanigans with Nicholas Parsons at 6:30 next Monday evening, when he'll be joined by Paul Merton, Clement, Freud, Marcus Brigstocke and Jenny Eclair.
Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my pleasure to welcome our many listeners in this country and, of course, around the world. And also to welcome to the programme four clever, ingenious, talented, humorous characters who are going to try and speak on a subject that I give them and show their verbal dexterity and ingenuity. And they'll try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And those four are, seated on my right, Paul Merton and Clement Freud, and seated on my left, Marcus Brigstocke and Jenny Eclair. Will you please welcome all four of them? Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me with the score. She will blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed, and this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Playhouse Theatre in that fine cathedral city of Salisbury. Jenny, will you begin it with family values? That is the subject. There are 60 seconds available, and you start now.
I don't think my family have any values. They certainly don't value yours truly. In fact, they've got a curfew out against me. I'm not allowed back in my house.
Paul challenged.
Can you have a curfew out against you? Is there a curfew against you?
Well, the curfew's out.
They have taken one out against me.
How can they take a curfew out?
They went to the police and they got one out.
Do the police just handle out curfews that you can go along? You can probably get them at the post office, can you? A curfew?
Yeah.
I think, Paul, that we all knew what she meant,
Yeah.
and I think I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say, yes, you can have a curfew out against you, Jenny, and you have 51 seconds on family values starting now.
Yes, I'm not allowed to live where I live. Oh, dear!
Invariably that happens. You stop the flow, and the next time you repeat something. Paul, you challenge
Repetition
first.
of live.
Yes,
sadly.
and you have 48 seconds, Paul. Have a point there for a correct challenge. Take over the subject of family values, and you start now.
Family values are, of course, exactly set by the family that has the values. If we look at the Munster family, a popular children's television programme in the 1960s, we saw that the head of the household was Frankenstein's monster. The grandfather was a kind of vampire Dracula-like figure, and I seem to remember there was a small boy called Butch who was a werewolf. Now, the particular comedy of this show revolved around the fact that although these people looked very strange, they actually behaved in a very normal fashion and couldn't understand why the rest of society...
Clement challenged.
Repetition of show. I let him go on a bit.
Yes, you did say this particular show, and right at the beginning you mentioned the Munsters, which was a show. Right, Clement, you listened well. You have the subject of of family values. 18 seconds available, starting now.
I have a wife, 5 children, and 16 grandchildren. Let me try and give you a valuation, although I haven't very recently gone to anyone for a new assessment. My wedded...
Paul challenged.
Oh, well, it was along my... I thought there was a bit of a sort of hesitation.
I think there was a definite hesitation, Paul. So you have the subject back. Family values, Paul. 4 seconds, starting now.
I remember the first time I went to my secondary school and people looked at the blazer I was wearing and they said, well, you obviously come from a very poor family indeed.
In this game, whoever is speaking as the whistle goes gains an extra point. It was Paul Merton, so he's got a strong lead at the end of the round. Marcus Brigstocke, will you take the next round, or start the next round? The subject is gadgets. Tell us something about gadgets in this game, starting now.
I'm a big fan of a gadget. In fact, I used my sat-nav to drive here from London this evening, which is why we arrived in Salisbury by way of Aberdeen. But nonetheless, I use all the oh, no!
Jenny,
Yes.
you challenge.
He used the word use twice. Use.
Yes, and that's
use
why
the
he
sat-nav.
hesitated. Right.
Plus my tongue unravelled.
Yeah, that's weird when you do that.
So, Jenny, you have a correct challenge. You get a point for that. There are 48 seconds available. Gadgets starting now.
I am not a gadget girl. Women can do most things with a nail file and some tweezers. Can't be doing with having to read...
Marcus challenged.
If a woman has, say, an ingrowing toenail, though, or something like that, that's not really something that a woman can do with just a nail file, is it? I mean, most of them would be inclined to bite them off, wouldn't they?
I will admit, on national radio, I have gouged my own foot with my mouth.
Have you?
Yes. I've self-harmed. I've bitten my own toenails.
But Jenny,
that I
taking
have.
at face value that challenge, you couldn't put up a shelf with a pair of nail file and tweezers.
Why would I have to?
Because you said...
Nicola?
No, but
Look at me.
You made a statement saying you could do pretty well anything with a woman could do pretty well anything with a nail file and tweezers.
Now you're confusing me.
Yes.
I could put up a shelf in a doll's house with some tweezers.
Oh, don't let's go down that room.
No.
I think, in other words, all I'm saying is Marcus' challenge is, I think, actually correct. Otherwise, he has the benefit of the doubt. If I get a chance to redress the balance later, I will do
thank
so.
you.
And it's gadgets back with you, Marcus, and there are 41 seconds available starting now.
Some of the gadgets in my house never get used at all. For example, I've got a record player that's supposed to turn the music that I have on vinyl disc into things that I can play through my computer. Unfortunately, I don't know how it works. I paid for it, and that was a good thing, I suppose, but it sat on the shelf for the last 2 years, and I feel a little bit ashamed, seeing as I begged my wife for one for about 3...
Jenny challenged.
2 fours.
Yes, there were 2 falls, right. So you got back in,
2
you see,
falls,
Jenny?
right, yeah,
And
yeah.
you got back in with 15 seconds to go. The subject is gadgets, starting now.
Can't be doing with the fact everything needs recharging. Every single sock. Oh,
Paul
no.
challenged.
No, I don't know, actually. Did she say everything and every?
She said everything and every. Everything is a word.
Yes, that's right. So that's what I was buzzing for, but...
I know. buzzing for their bris. So, Jenny, got another point? 10 seconds starting now.
My mobile phone is as gadgetry technological as I can get. Sometimes I pick it up thinking it's the television remote control. Point it at the box saying, come on, turn over.
So Jenny Eclair was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point for doing so, and she's gone forward into the lead just ahead of Paul Merton, and then Marcus Brigstocke and Clement Freud follow.
One foul.
Is that your mother or your daughter?
That's the man who's prepared to put shelves up for me.
Clement Freud, will you begin the next round? The subject is my party trick. Tell us something about it if you... You have 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
My best party trick, which I used to play with my older brother, was for both of us to go into a room, each with a bottle of whiskey. And when we had finished our beverage, one of us went out and knocked on the door, and the other had to guess who it was.
Oh, what a brilliant story. Right. You were challenged, naturally, Clement, but I think you're quite happy to be challenged because you got the big laugh. A brilliant story. We'll give you a bonus point for that because we really enjoyed the story. But, Marcus, you challenged.
Yes, I did. I want to know who was there.
You can have a bonus point for that, but you haven't got a serious challenge. When
the serious challenge was there was hesitation.
With hesitation, right. So, Marcus, you have 39 seconds still available, and the subject is my party trick starting now.
My party trick is the impression that I can do of Clement Freud. It isn't exactly...
And, Clement, you challenged. I wonder why.
Repetition.
Of why? What is your repetition in this show?
I speak like that.
He does, he speaks like that, don't you? You speak like that, he speaks like that.
It was like an echo.
But actually, it wasn't a repetition of anything within the rules of just a minute. So, Clement, no, we enjoyed your interruption. So, Clement gets a bonus point for that. And, Marcus, you get a point because you were interrupted. Yes, that's right. And you have my party trick still, and 34 seconds starting now.
My party trick at university was to stand on a table and pull both of the pockets of my trousers out and then undo my fly and see if anyone thought it looked anything like an elephant. Unfortunately, I was knocked off the table on several occasions and...
Jenny, you've challenged.
Challenging on two fronts. It didn't look like an elephant at all, and he said table twice.
Yeah, yes, he did, indeed. I thought you were going to challenge him for boasting. Jenny, you have a correct challenge. You have a point. You have 19 seconds. And the subject is my party trick starting now.
My party trick used to be putting both legs round the back of my neck. Can't do it anymore. These days, what I do at parties is disappear, as if in a puff of smoke. Can't bear being at places where you're meant to have so much fun, etc. So what I do is I get the night bus home, and I'm in bed by 11. That's it.
Jenny Eclair was then speaking as the whistle went, gained an extra point, and she's now increased her lead ahead of Marcus Brigstocke, Clement Freud, and Paul Merton in that order. And now, the next subject that's come up is tautology, Paul, and it's your turn to begin. So will you begin on tautology? 60 seconds, starting now.
The only ology I was taught at school was biology, and I suppose I know a little bit about the birds and the bees and the bison and the unicorn, and these various stories filtered through my young scholastic brain. I wasn't very good at the other sciences. Oh no, I did sociology as well, but that's not really one of those things I just mentioned. I wrote up an essay about a Horizon documentary I'd seen on the radio, and I hadn't seen it on the radio, so I'd seen it.
Marcus, your challenge.
Well, there was a small deviation in as much as he saw something on
but
the
not only
radio.
a small deviation, I think it was a complete deviation because he never mentioned anything about tautology. Every other kind of ology, but not tautology.
That is tautologies.
I was taught just by nuns. Does that count? Does that count at all?
So, Marcus, a correct challenge. You have a point for that, of course. You have 38 seconds. Tautology starting now.
I'm beginning to wish that I'd never buzzed on account of I'm not entirely clear what a tautology is. However, I think that...
Paul challenge.
Well, I know exactly what it is. I mean, if you hadn't buzzed me, I could have told everybody here exactly what tautology is. I'm an expert on the subject.
Well, why didn't you tell them before?
Oh, but he just remembered it.
32 seconds, tautology markers starting now.
My understanding of it is that you say more or less the same thing twice, which makes it a very fitting subject for just a minute, although it does make it very difficult for me, particularly given that I'm not totally certain that that's actually the right definition of it. However, if I were to say to you...
Paul challenge.
Repetition of say.
Say you have to say before, yes. Paul, you have now got tautology. Tell us all about it. You say you know. 17 seconds starting now.
Nicholas Parsons' national treasure. That would be saying the same thing twice, because when we look at our esteemed chairman, we think to himself, surely there must be a field somewhere in England we can put him. Dig him up, very down on the ground, and in time he will come along in 500 years' time and say, oh, I don't know what it is, Tony, but he's wearing a striped blazer.
Well, yes. I don't know whether I'll be wearing a striped blazer or not when I go underground, but anyway, you're... Paul, you were speaking as a whistle. When you get an extra point, you move forward. You're one behind Marcus and two behind our leader, Jenny Eclair. And so I don't want letters for people telling me as if I didn't know. Tautology is when you say, express something, not repeating it, but you express the same thing in different terms or phrases or different words.
Right. Could you give us an example?
Yes.
David,
no, wait a minute. I've got one for you. Yeah. They followed one by one in quick succession.
I see.
You see?
Somebody's saying no over here.
Is that right?
He returned his library books back to the library.
Yes.
Is that one?
That is a bit of tautology. What?
No, that's not tautology.
Yes.
Ah.
Is this a coach party?
No, it's
You're all together.
In this moment in time.
No, that's just a ghastly English.
Isn't it ghastly?
No, it's a case of expressing the same thing in two different words or phrases. So,
yes.
That's
we
right.
like it. That's the best one.
I'm a bit miffed now. I thought mine was quite good.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Nicholas.
That's all right. It doesn't matter. Jenny, it's your turn to begin, or we'd like you to begin. The subject we'd like you to start with now. Oh, what a lovely subject. Oscar Wilde. Tell us something about that great man in this time available, starting now.
Oscar Wilde was born in Dublin, didn't make old bones, died younger than me. That's tragic. He wrote many things, including poems, plays, books. Most importantly, you will remember the importance of being earnest.
Marcus remembered.
Yeah, no, it was the wrong challenge. Important and importantly.
Yeah,
yes.
I know. I tried to trick you.
Yes, and you did.
Yeah, that was my good trick.
Yeah, yes. Jenny, incorrect challenge. You have another point. You have Oscar Wilde. You have 45 seconds starting now.
A handbag? Oh, please give me that part. It's about time. A picture of Dorian Gray. That's a good one. He wasn't gay, you know, but apparently he was married.
Clement Freud challenge.
He was gay.
Yes. I'm afraid that's why he went to prison.
Yes, but he was happily married as well and had 2 children. So do you not think he was bi?
Sexual tautology.
Yeah, he could do that as well.
The fact that he was gay doesn't prevent him also being married and having a family. So Clement is correct. And so he has the point. 33 seconds. Oscar Wilde, Clement, starting now.
In John Betjeman's poem about his arrest, Mr. Wilde, we have come for to take you to where felons and criminals dwell, and we hope, sir, that you will come quietly, because this is the Cadogan Hotel. I think the most interesting thing that Oscar Wilde said was approval of what is approved of is as false as a well-kept vow. I mean, he did write wonderful things. He was brilliant. He was homosexual.
Marcus, challenge.
Sorry, yes, a challenge on deviation. I'm not sure that he was brilliant. I mean, no, I know. I'll tell you why. Wait a minute, Radio 4.
There'll be letters.
Relax.
Wait a minute. What do you think this programme's called?
And with the greatest respect, Marcus, you know, this isn't a discussion programme. No. You have 5 seconds. You can now tell us, within just a minute, why you think he wasn't great. Starting now.
Oscar Wilde challenged Lord Queensberry to a fight. Now, this was the man who invented boxing. That
Clement challenged.
Deviation.
Why?
He didn't challenge Lord Queensberry to a fight.
No, it was the other way round.
And Lord Queensberry didn't invent boxing.
No.
Yeah, but other than that, how was it?
Oh, bless you.
Other than that, it was good.
The rules of boxing were named after the Marquis of Queensberry, but he didn't challenge. It was the other way
Oh,
round.
he wasn't even a lord either, he was a marquis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If you get 3 in 1 4-second section, do you get back in somehow?
Clement's got the subject from 1 second ago. Oscar Wilde starting now.
Oscar Wilde has a son called Vivian.
So Clement Freud was speaking as a whistle when getting that extra point. It's very, very close here. In fact, only 1 point separates them all in ascending order. It's Paul, Clement, Marcus, Jenny.
Am
There
I
we are.
winning?
You're in the winner. You're in the lead, my friend. Marcus, will you begin the next round? The subject is spring clean. Tell us something about that distressing subject, starting now.
One of the hardest things about cleaning a spring is getting the cloth caught on one of the coils. However, to clean...
Jenny challenged.
2 1s, one of the springs.
One of the
and
springs, yes. One of the most difficult things.
Sorry, Marcus, but I'm out to win this one.
Spring clean, Jenny. You've got another point, you've got the subject, and there are 55 seconds available starting now.
You've got to get yourself organised, starting with bin liners. Tidy round the house, take a load of rubbish down to the charity shop, pop to the supermarket, get your basics, cloths, polishes, bleaches, etc. Come home, change in something that you don't mind getting grease all over, because you will have to do the cooker and the airing cupboard. Don't let yourself get distracted.
Paul challenge.
Deviation, there shouldn't be grease in the airing cupboard.
You haven't seen my airing cupboard.
Well, it's deviation if you've got grease in your airing cupboard.
No, as I
Oh,
understood
you've got
it...
grease in your airing cupboard, have you, Nicholas?
No.
Oh, haven't you?
Well, there might be. There might be some on the hinges.
Yes.
But the point... No, I'm not trying to... the point is, I understood it was quite clear. There was grease on the cooker. But of course she hasn't got grease in her airing cupboard.
Only a
Sounded like
smidge.
she did, though, didn't it?
No, she had to keep going with the rules of just a minute, and there was a lot of pressure on. The other 3 are waiting to come in
Excellent
and challenge.
chairman, excellent chairman.
No.
Best one we've got, best one we've got.
It's the only one you've got.
That's what I mean.
And, but no, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Jenny, you still have the subject.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Spring clean, 31 seconds, starting now.
It's so easy to get sidetracked in your study reading old love letters. I've got boxes of those. Hours upon days spent on my knees.
Marcus challenged.
Yes, deviation. I mean, I know Jenny's talking about deviating from spring cleaning, but it's still basically a deviation, isn't it?
Well, yes, because you don't spring clean your love letters. I mean, you read those, you break
Blow the
off.
dust off them.
No, I gave you the benefit of the doubt last
It's
time.
Marcus's
Marcus, you've got it
turn.
this time. Spring clean is back with you, Marcus, and the 21 seconds starting now.
I cleaned out my shed the other day. It was full of the most useless things, including a record player that I made my wife buy for me, and I've never really worked out how to use the blasted thing. I also found a man that we employed 6 years ago. His name's Keith, and he was taken on as a gardener. He died, sadly, and there he was, sitting...
Paul challenged.
There was quite a few he's.
Yes, a lot of he's there. So
Yeah, we
Paul,
couldn't help but giggle when we saw him.
Yeah.
Paul, you've got him with 3 seconds to go. Spring clean starting now.
When spring comes, I open up the windows of the house, I get the window lean in my hand, and I spray it.
So they're still very close point-wise. Clement is now in 4th place, 1 behind Paul, and he's 1 behind Marcus, and Marcus is 1 behind Jenny Eclair. And we go now over to Clement Freud to begin. Clement, oh, this is an interesting subject. What frightened me as a child? Will you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
I think what frightened me most as a child was Nicholas Parsons. He and I went to school together, and there was nothing about him just terrifying to look at, to listen to.
Jenny, you've challenged.
I'm sorry.
Oh, 2 2s, 2 2.
Yes, 2, yes, 2,
And
2.
anyway, you weren't scary at all. You were a sweet little golden-haired child.
Thank you, darling.
Oh, it's still up.
I can't give bonus points for this, even though I'd like to. And the
No,
audience-
the producer told me it was best to keep you sweet during the show.
Jenny, 45 seconds. What frightened me as a child, starting now?
Snakes under the bed, my parents separating, which they never got round to, and then finding out how badly I'd done in my maths exercise book. Remember when there was parent-teacher evening, and I ripped a page out because I got 0 out of 10. I was so scared because they were really worried about something that was wrong with my brother, and he was fine in the end. But anyway, I thought, they don't need any more worry. I'm going to rip this page out.
Marcus challenge.
2 worries.
Yeah,
Two
but look
worries
at me,
and
I'm rocking. This is a real childhood trauma thing.
All right, Jenny.
I ripped up the page and I tried to flush it down the toilet and it wouldn't go, and I had to get it out of the toilet and I buried it in the back garden. I got so upset. I was just trying to spare them.
My darling, what a tortured
Yes.
youth you must have
I
had.
know.
Oh, dear.
I'm glad Marcus has taken that off me because I was getting a bit upset.
You were going very, very fast as well.
Yeah.
Marcus, you had a correct challenge. You have a point. You have 24 seconds. What frightened me as a child, starting now?
What frightened me as a child was the idea of being expelled for a 4th time, because I thought that my parents really wouldn't cope with that. The first one was for setting fire to the goalposts on a football pitch. I didn't enjoy the game, and so I thought with only the thing at one end.
Clement challenge?
Hesitation.
Yes, the definite there. Clement, we're back with you. What frightened me as a child? 9 seconds still available, starting now.
Lessons were very frightening. History, geography, algebra. And I think what was particularly frightening was the fact that one learned huge things one had no use for.
So Clement Freud speaking as the whistle when gained that extra point, and he's moved forward, but he's still in 3rd place, but it's all very, very close. And actually, we're moving into the final round. You are lovely here in Salisbury. Let me give the situation. Paul, for once, is trailing. He's in 4th place, but only 1 point behind Clement Freud. And he's 3 points behind Marcus Brigstocke. And 4 behind Jenny Eclair. Jenny's in the lead, 1 ahead of Marcus and Clement down that order. Right. Let's we'll start the last round. Paul, we're back with you. The subject is a battle axe. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
Well, it's a rather old-fashioned sexist term, I suppose, for a dominant older woman. The actress Peggy Mount used to specialise theatrically in playing battle axes in several farces in the 1950s. She would be the mother-in-law or eventually the hero's best friend and would shout from the rooftops and demand to know why things weren't being done in the way that she wanted them to. If we look at the comedian Les Dawson, he used to specialise in playing female roles, often taken from the stereotype of Norman Evans, who was a very popular music hall act in the 1940s and 50s.
Clement Freud challenge.
Repetition of 19.
1940s? I said 1940s and 50s.
Yes, you did.
I did?
Yes, and the audience were listening.
Yeah. Just as well somebody is, isn't it?
Paul, an incorrect challenge.
Oh, thank you very
You've
much.
still got a
How did you
battle.
arrive by such a wise decision?
Yes. You've still got a battle axe, and 27 seconds starting now.
If you go to battle in East Sussex, where the great battle took place, you will find an axe buried in the field. The guides will say to you, come through, half price for children, full for adults, and as you walk towards the epicentre of this great fight, you see it lying there, the handle is sticking out of the ground.
Marcus challenged.
I think it's a repetition of ground.
Everybody's asleep. Who knows? Everybody's sitting there stunned. I don't care. Just blow the whistle. Just get this bloke off. Who knows? In the name of God, say yes and give it to somebody else. Because we haven't got a clue.
The thing is, Paul, that we were also carried away with the dramatic way in which you're presenting it and all the gestures that went with it.
Yes.
I think we weren't concentrating on the words quite so much.
No, that's a good way of putting it.
Yes.
It was so good we all fell asleep.
So, Marcus gets a point for correct challenge. Paul, you started with the subject. Why did you finish with the subject? Still got 6 seconds to go. A battle axe starting now.
If I ask you now to think of the great battles that lie ahead, we must each have our axe. We must hold it up to the sky. We must wave it above our heads.
Well, now it's time to give you the final score. And oh, what a fair result. Clement has done so well whenever he's appeared, but he finished in 4th place. It was a brilliant 4th place because he was only 2 behind the one in 2nd place. And the one in 2nd place was Paul Merton, who was often out there in the lead, and he was only one behind?
It's caught on that Wiltshire accent, hasn't it?
Right, I'll finish in a Wiltshire accent then. He was only one behind, or two people out in the lead there.
No Wiltshire?
No Wiltshire. All right, I'm more Gloucestershire, I realise that, because my mother's family come to that part
Nicholas,
of the
who
world.
won?
What?
Who won?
A very fair result. We have equal winners, Marcus Brigstocke and Jenny Eclair. We do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute. It remains me to thank our four delightful players of the game, Paul, Merton, Jenny Eclair, Marcus Brigstocke and Clement Freud. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, blown her whistle with such aplomb when the time was up. And we thank our producer, Toulouse Gilani, and we're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. And finally, we're indebted to this lovely audience here in this fine city of Salisbury, who've cheered us on our way at the Playhouse Theatre. So from them, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and our panel, goodbye. Thank you for listening. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute. Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away once more, it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners throughout the world, but also to welcome to the programme this week four talented, exuberant and intelligent players of this game who are going to display their verbal dexterity, their humorous ingenuity as they try and speak on the subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And they are, seated on my right, Paul Merton and Clement Freud, and seated on my left, Josie Lawrence and Chris Neill. Will you please welcome all four of them? And seated beside me is Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me with the score and blow a whistle when the 60 seconds are up. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the De Montfort Hall in Leicester. And we're going to start the show this week with Josie Lawrence and, a lovely topical subject, Red Leicester. Josie, will you tell us something about Red Leicester in this game starting now?
My favourite cheese of all time is Red Leicester. So how wonderful to be here in Leicester. As soon as I got off the train at the station, I went straight to one of the many booths that sell this wonderful cheese and said, "Excuse me."
Oh, Chris, you've challenged.
Deviation, there aren't any booths
There
that sell.
are. On the outskirts of Leicester, there are hundreds.
I knew what she was saying. She didn't use the word shops, she used the word booths. And the image...
Oh, you've seen one of these booths, have you?
No, I had the image that she went to a place that sells cheese, and she found one, and she bought some cheese.
A Red Leicester booth, yes.
There are lots of them in Leicester,
So
aren't
I'm
there?
giving her...
Oh, you stop.
I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt and say that she had an incorrect challenge. She gets a point for that, and she keeps the subject, of course, and there are 47 seconds available starting now.
Red Leicester was actually created in 1962.
Clement's challenged.
No.
Can you give us the date, Clement?
There was no date. There was never any other cheese than Red Leicester. Leicester cheese was red. They added some colour material, in the first case carrots, and later something called root of anato. But
I'm sure I read in a pamphlet in the booth that it was invented in 1960.
But there's no green Leicester.
No, all right. I will give you the benefit of the doubt on this, Clement. You take over the subject with 42 seconds available. Red Leicester starting now.
I'm quite fond of Red Leicester because it's a very proper ingredient for Welsh rabbit. It's crumbly, it isn't hard, it's fairly expensive, but then what you expect in Leicester of cheese.
Paul,
I'm
you
just going to
challenged.
give you the names of a few people
Paul,
who eat Red
Clement, you
Leicester.
have been challenged.
I know that.
He's just musing on what might have been.
But I'm afraid we have to play the game. Paul, the correct challenge. It was hesitation, obviously. And you have 25 seconds. Tell us something about Red Leicester starting now.
Tony Blair's wife, Cheese Booths, comes from around this area. And she was in fact born somewhere near Liverpool, which isn't that far away from Leicester, and they both begin with the capital L. Red Leicester...
Josie, challenge.
He hesitated after L.
No, he didn't, Josie.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. They were very generous to you when we were here before, but that was a tough challenge.
Yeah, well, he took the mickey
Chris,
bit out
I
of
know you were taking the
Cheese
mickey out of me then, Chris, but they did enjoy what you said, so I'll give you a bonus point for that. But Paul...
Suddenly he's one round again.
Paul, it was an incorrect challenge. You keep the subject, Red Leicester, and there are 14 seconds starting now.
The Communist Party in Leicester is a rather small group of individuals. They meet every Tuesday just outside the town where all the booths are. And they decide what they're going to do is overthrow the system. They said, first of all...
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. It was, of course, Paul Merton who was in the lead, one ahead of Josie Lawrence and two ahead of Clement Freud and three ahead of Chris Neill. But Chris, you begin the next round. The subject is Once in a Blue Moon. Tell us something about that in this game, starting now.
Once in a blue moon is how you would describe a fun night out in Loughborough. It really doesn't happen terribly often. Don't groan, it's an awful place. I have been there. Blue Moon is a lovely song by Rodgers and Hart. Blue Moon, I saw you standing...
Paul challenged.
How does it go? Perhaps Chris could sing some for us.
Yeah. That was a comment on your singing, Chris, if you didn't recognise it. Paul, the audience enjoyed your interruption, but you haven't got a challenge when the rules are just a minute. Chris, you were interrupted, so you get a point for that. You keep Once in a Blue Moon, and there are 45 seconds starting now.
During a court... Oh.
Paul, you challenged.
Loss of something.
Loss of everything.
Loss of everything.
And 44 seconds still available. Paul, tell us something about Once in a Blue Moon, starting now.
Once in a blue moon refers to that incident or incidents that might happen very rarely in your life. For example, you come to Leicester, you walk into the De Montfort Hall and you see that it's packed to the rafters, which will be like just this on November the 20th when we come. No, it's not that. It's November the 30th.
Josie, you challenged.
Yes, he tripped himself up then. He hesitated and went, no, wait a minute, it's the wrong date.
Didn't hesitate while I was doing it, I kept talking.
No, you did.
He didn't hesitate when he was doing it, darling. He kept going.
Yeah.
You see, yes.
Yes, all right, I don't...
It was a good try, but I mean, no, I don't think I can even be generous on that one. So we know who the audience want to win, don't we?
Sorry, Paul.
No, don't apologise. He gets a point.
Oh.
He's happy. Gets another point. He has 29 seconds. Once in a Blue Moon, starting now.
Manchester City.
The
Clement challenged.
repetition of November.
Yes. As you're quite right, in your previous speech you said to use the word November twice. And so, well, listen, Clement, you have a correct challenge. You have 28 seconds.
Hang on. Can you do that retrospective challenge?
Yes, if you speak in that round, you mustn't repeat anything in that round. If you've
Well, I just said Manchester, and he challenged me for repeating November.
No, but he was doing a retrospective challenge.
Oh, right, okay.
In the sense that he could. You have used the word November twice in this round on the subject of Once in a Blue Moon.
Yes.
So Clement has technically a correct challenge.
Does anyone want a fruit gum?
So I'm having to listen and be fair and correct when the rules are just a minute. Clement, 28 seconds still are available. Once in a Blue Moon, starting now.
Once in a Blue Moon is the number of times Leicester City win a football match.
Chris, you challenge.
A hesitation.
I'm afraid so, yes, he stopped. So you take it over, 20 seconds, Once in a Blue Moon, starting now.
Blue Moon, I heard a recording of by Frank Sinatra many years ago, and I drank a glass of champagne as I listened to it. He played... No, he didn't, he sang. With
Josie, yes?
I think he said listen twice.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
You did. Well done, Josie. So you got Once in a Blue Moon, and you have 11 seconds, starting now.
The reason people say once in a blue moon is because blue moons are very, very rare.
Oh.
Oh, no! I can't even say very, very.
That's right. It's so natural to say very, very, to emphasise. And it's the first time players of the game invariably do it. And I can't let you get away with it.
No, you really can't. I want to do it properly.
Paul, you have a correct challenge. Once in a blue moon, 6 seconds starting now.
Football fans around the country often are heard singing this particular lament when their team goes behind. It goes something... Oh.
Well, at the end of that round, Paul Merton is in the lead, but he's only 2 ahead of Chris Neill, and he's only 1 ahead of Josie Lawrence, and she's 2 ahead of Clement Freud. That's the order, that's the sequence. And who begins the next round? Clement, it's with you. Would you take the subject of upping the ante, starting now?
This is something Noel Coward was very fond of. It was called goosing. You get your middle finger and you thrust it in the colon.
Chris Neill.
Are you talking about upping the ante?
In this part of England, your
Clement, you
father's or mother's brother or sister is pronounced ante.
Sorry, Clement, I have to interrupt you, because you have been challenged by Chris Neill.
My challenge was that he said forefinger and then he put his thumb up.
I know.
The rest of it I was fine with.
It's not a valid challenge. I mean...
I think it's very valid.
Why is that not a valid challenge?
Talking about all brown.
Well, no, you wouldn't, because if you were talking about all brown, because you deliberately put your, he said forefinger, and you put your thumb up like that. I know it's not visual, but it is radio, and the audience here can see it, so it wouldn't be... So I think you'd agree with my decision, wouldn't you, audience? Chris, you have the subject. You have 51 seconds on upping the ante, starting now.
I remember when I studied Othello at college, the only quote I could remember was "tupping your white U," which slightly rhymes with upping the ante, and that's all I've got to say about it.
And Josie challenged.
It doesn't even slightly rhyme.
It doesn't matter.
Tupping
You challenge
and upping.
first. Hesitation.
Yes, hesitation.
Well said, Josie. Well spotted. I'm really going on.
It doesn't rhyme.
Tupping and upping rhymes?
It doesn't.
Tupping and upping rhymes. It does, yeah. It
Upping
does.
and upping, yeah. Josie, you had a correct challenge. You have the subject, 42 seconds, upping the ante, starting now.
Upping the ante, upping the stakes. That's what a lot of people like to do, and those are the kind of human beings that I do not like. Why do you need to up the ante? Why is the ante got to be upped?
Oh, that was lovely. Was that?
Why are we up at the ante?
I did go Italian, sorry.
Italian. Deviation from English.
You warned me about going
I said,
Italian.
don't go Italian. Everybody does.
You had a correct challenge, Paul. You have 29 seconds, upping the ante, starting now.
Hey, up in the ante. It means to get a hold of a situation and think to yourself, OK, I'm so far ahead here that I think I'm going to raise the stakes. Aim for something higher. If I achieve that, think of the marvellous things that will ensue. People will say you should stick to what you know. But no! You must...
Clement challenged.
Repetition of no.
What you know, 2 words, different words. What you
Same
know
sound.
and know.
Same sound.
No, I'm sorry.
No, that's right.
Stick to what you
Use in
know.
that context. When he said no, we knew it was K-N-O-W.
Yeah.
And when he said no then, we knew it was N-O. I have to give the benefit of the doubt to Paul on this one and say, upping the ante is still with you, Paul. 9 seconds, starting now.
My father was a very keen follower on horses. They were sick animals.
Clement challenged.
Follow of horses.
Yes, he was followed of horses. And
Not
he
on
he didn't ride them, did he?
Yeah, he's a jockey.
I don't believe you, Paul. I think you meant to say following the horses. Clement, you have the benefit of the doubt, so you now have upping the ante in 5 seconds, starting now.
When I was told I was coming to Leicester, I was pleased because my wife's people are from very near here, Watford.
So Clement Freud was speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point for doing so. He's equal with Paul in the lead, followed by Josie and Chris Neill. And Paul, we'd like you to take the next round, or start the next round, stating the obvious. Will you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
I am on the panel of Just a Minute, sitting next to Sir Clement Freud. And also on the other side, we have Chris Neill, and Josie Lawrence. But of course, in the middle, we have somebody that we couldn't do without. Trudy Stevens, who blows the whistle for us, indicating...
The Chris Neill challenge.
There was repetition of "we have."
Yes, you did say we have. Yes, right. So, Chris, a correct challenge. You have the subject. 45 seconds, stating the obvious, starting now.
Stating the obvious. Dale Winton is not the marrying kind. Anne Robinson has had some work done. Nicholas Parsons was in the Boer War. All these things are stating the obvious. Why do people feel it's absolutely necessary to lay on? It's like when they go, oh, do you know what I mean? Well, yes, I do know what you mean. You've just said something really easy. Oh, yeah.
Paul challenged.
A repetition of know what I mean.
Know what you mean, yes. There's two means there. Right. Yeah. Paul, you have the subject back again, stating the obvious. You've 26 seconds, starting now.
Football commentators, I suppose, can be accused of stating the obvious when they say, what a wonderful goal that was, as you see the ball clearly rippling into the back of the net. But then, of course, if they are talking about particular sports, they have to assume that not everybody has the expert knowledge that they have. Indeed, if you look at lawn tennis at Wimbledon...
Clement challenge.
Repetition of look.
Yes, you did say look before.
That's why it's repeated.
Clement, 7 seconds, stating the obvious, starting now.
2 and 3.
Paul challenge.
Hesitation, I'm afraid.
No.
No?
No, you hadn't even gone for half a second.
Oh.
6 3/4 seconds on stating the obvious. Clement, starting now.
If you start straight away, it is not hesitation, nor deviation. In no way could it be called...
So Clement Freud was again speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point. He's equal with Paul Merton in the lead, then Josie and then Chris in that order. Josie, we'd like you to start the next round. Oh, a lovely subject. I'm sure you can go on it. What are you blowing for?
Get my breathing right.
Yes, you're breathing right. What the Butler saw is the subject. You've got 60 seconds if you want it.
Yes, please.
And you're going to take in a deep breath now. And you start now.
I know quite a lot about what the Butler saw because my Auntie Florrie went into service in 1910 to a big house. Oh, no! It was a big house.
And it was a very, very big house, wasn't it? It's a tough game.
It is a tough game.
Yes.
I want to die.
Paul, you challenge, correct challenge, 52 seconds. What the Butler saw, starting now.
It was a play written by Joe Alton, that marvellous playwright from the 1960s, who wrote several plays entertaining Mr...
Clement challenge.
Wrote.
He wrote, yes, plays.
I think he said wrote and written, didn't he?
Yeah.
He said plays twice.
He said.
No, he did play and plays.
He's always right.
One was a single and one was a plural.
Oh, Lord.
He wrote,
Did he say buffalo?
No. You did
I
say...
can say buffalo if it would help.
Go on.
No. 45 seconds, Clement, correct challenge. With you, what the Butler saw, starting now.
The most tragic thing is a blind butler. Poor sod, he goes around life seeing absolutely nothing. People undress in front of
Paul
him.
challenge.
How did he get the job in the first place?
Because
You can't have a blind butler, can you?
You can have a dumb waiter.
You can have a... Josie, that deserves a bonus point. I'll give it only a bonus point for that one. And probably the family, a blind butler might work for a blind family. But it doesn't matter. You had a correct...
What, to help them out? Here, we're blind. What we need is somebody else that's blind. But we have to pay. Well, we think we're paying them, and God knows what we're giving them. Let's get a blind chauffeur while we're about it.
Oh, dear. It gets better and better, doesn't it? But you're quite right, Paul. He did hesitate. So you have the subject, and you have 35 seconds starting now.
It's one of those old farces, but it translated very well when it was staged in London in a decade between the 70s and the 50s. He was unfortunately murdered by his lover, Kenneth Halliwell. I'm referring, of course, to the gentleman that I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, who I can't repeat his name because that...
Clement challenge.
Joe Orton.
I can remember.
All right, what we do on this occasion, they enjoyed that, Clement, so you get a bonus point for your interruption, but Paul was interrupted. He gets a point for that. Keeps the subject. 18 seconds. What the Butler saw, starting now.
In 1895, the Lumiere brothers showed films on a screen to the inhabitants of Paris. But before that, what the Butler machines were very popular. You would put in a small coin, turn the handle, look through an aperture, and see moving images. And these machines...
Josie challenged.
Machines. Repetition.
Yes, machines. Oh.
5 people noticed that.
They were concentrating on the humour.
It takes a lot of concentration to find it sometimes, doesn't it?
Right,
Yeah.
3 seconds. Josie, you've got him with 3 seconds to go. What the Butler saw, starting now.
Butler saw an awful lot because wealthy people took absolutely no...
So Josie Lawrence was then speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point. And she has moved forward. She's still in 3rd place, but she's not far behind Clement Freud. And she's only 3 or 4 behind Paul Merton. Chris is behind them, and he begins the next round. Chris, I've got a subject here. If I could do it all again. You can take it any way you wish. 60 seconds, starting now.
If I could do it all again was something I heard myself saying only yesterday, Sunday. Obviously, if you're listening to the repeat, it was earlier this morning. And it was concerning the way I'd cooked Sunday. Oh, I'd said Sunday twice.
Right, Paul challenge.
It was going to be really interesting as well.
Repetition of Sunday.
I know there's too much of Sunday, I'm afraid. So, Paul, you have the subject of if I could do it all again, and you have 50 seconds, starting now.
If I could do it all again, I would, but this time I'd employ a blind butler. Because I think it's very important to have domestic staff around you who have no idea what's going on. You'd be able to tease him by pouring soup on his head and telling him it was raining. That's the sort of thing I would do. Also, you could...
Clement challenge.
3 do's.
3 do's?
Yes, 3 do's. You do this and do that.
Yeah.
32 seconds, Clement. If I could do it all again, starting now.
If I could do it all again, it would be repetition.
Chris, you challenge.
We sort of just stopped.
I know, because...
He's riding the laugh.
He'd
got his surfboard out, he'd waxed the surfboard, he was gliding across the top of it.
He had,
All the way to Loughborough.
he had a very good line and got a very good laugh. That's enough for me. Over to you, and Chris was the first to challenge. So, Chris, hesitation, 26 seconds. If I could do it all again, starting now.
So what I was trying to say, we had roast beef and potatoes cooked in the same way, cabbage, glazed carrots, gravy, horseradish sauce and Yorkshire pudding, but I got it all arse about face, really. I put the beef in too early and then the cabbage in...
Josie's challenge.
This is quite educational.
I'm sorry, but he did say beef twice.
You did say beef twice. You talked about the beef before.
I did.
Yes.
I knew I did, but I was just trying to explain things to people.
Oh, mate.
Sometimes it's not about the points, it's about the education.
Yes.
It's an educational show. People come out of this recording saying to themselves, well, that taught me a lesson.
14 seconds for you, Josie, on If I Could Do It All Again, starting now.
People say if I could do it all again, I would do so many things differently, and I don't believe that. Why have regrets? Why not just...
Paul challenge.
Why?
Why?
Oh, it's true, it's true.
It is true.
Yes. Paul, 6 seconds are still available. Tell us something more about If I Could Do It All Again. Sorry, I don't know why, I just read it, and I thought, if I'd read that before. If I could do it all again, that's the subject, Paul, and 5 seconds starting now.
When you've got Alzheimer's, the feeling that you could do it all again comes to you very rapidly. You wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, what day of the week is it?
Paul Merton speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and he has slightly increased his lead, just ahead of Clement Freud. And 3 or 4 points ahead of Josie Lawrence and even more ahead of Chris Neill. I mention that fact now because we're moving into the final round. Clement, it's your turn to begin, so... this is a good one to finish on. A kangaroo court. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
When a man catches a kangaroo, he is said to have a kangaroo court, which means that he has caught a kangaroo.
Paul challenge. Yeah?
Are you doubting this?
But Paul's challenge you.
The hesitation.
Was a hesitation.
Oh, yes.
Yes? Paul, correct challenge. 49 seconds, a kangaroo court starting now.
There's a story that may be apocryphal, but a beautiful, wonderful group of tourists were driving through Australia when they knocked a kangaroo down with their lawnmower? Land Rover.
Actually, I think a lawnmower would have been more fun, wouldn't it, really? Yes, yes.
It's a longer way to get across Australia.
Yeah, yes.
But you leave a neat path behind you.
Josie, you challenge first.
Yeah.
What is the challenge?
Well, he said lawnmower instead of Land
Which is
Rover.
deviation from going across on the... He couldn't have achieved that on a lawnmower. 41 seconds. Josie, we've got a kangaroo court with you starting now.
There were many kangaroo courts around the Clink and Newgate Jail, and many kangaroos... Oh,
Paul, you challenge first.
Hesitation?
Hesitation, yes.
And,
even if you do slip up like that, I'd keep going next time, Josie.
all right.
It draws attention to otherwise. 35 seconds, a kangaroo court with you, Paul, starting now.
It means a bunch of people have got together without the full force of the law and decided...
Chris challenge.
Was there a people from before?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Definitely not. Chris, I'm sorry, incorrect challenge. Another point to Paul. 32 seconds, a kangaroo court with you, Paul, starting now.
It's the equivalent of saying to somebody, we will try you without due course. We will be able to say...
Clement challenge.
We will.
Two, we will. So, Clement, you have the subject now. 25 seconds, a kangaroo court starting now.
A kangaroo court.
Chris challenge.
Hesitation.
I think so, Chris.
Thank
yes. You have 23 seconds on a kangaroo court, Chris, starting now.
So the kangaroo is the judge, and then you've got koalas as attendants, wallabies as ushers, and Australian rabbits, whatever they are, doing other things in this particular court that we talk of. Oh, I say...
Paul challenge.
A repetition of,
yes.
Yeah.
Long word, wasn't it? Oh, a lot of vowels in that, wasn't there, Nicholas?
Yes.
I'm
yes,
over here. I'm over here.
And I know you're over there. I was trying to work it out whether...
You're trying to work out where I am?
Listen, you can talk after your lawnmower going across the outback in Australia. No, I was trying to work out whether it's legitimate to say, I think
it's a proper word.
Yeah, but you
That
made it
man
so...
thinks so, yeah.
But
it's a local Leicester word. It's all the rage.
Listen, I tell you what's the situation? We've got 13 seconds to go.
I'm always in fourth place.
Strong lead.
Oh, no.
I think it's fair. We'll give Chris the benefit of the doubt and say you can keep the subject, Chris. And another point, 13 seconds, a kangaroo court starting now.
Clement was talking about a kangaroo being caught, and if it was, it could be braised, stewed, roasted. I tried to talk about that before, got nowhere. And other things could happen. You could even make a soup from the bones.
Challenged.
Repetition of talking.
Of talking?
Clement was talking and then talking.
That's right. Yes, you did say
Yes, that is right.
Clement talking, right. He was going so fast I couldn't quite catch it.
No, I wasn't listening.
5 seconds, Clement, for you on a kangaroo court starting now.
A blind butler in charge of a judicial community seeing to...
So, Clement Freud brought that subject to end, and the round to an end, and the show to an end. He gained a point for speaking as the whistle went. He's in a strong position. Let me give you the final score. Chris Neill, who did so well last time we were in Leicester, but he did finish in 4th place on this occasion. He was a number of points behind Josie Lawrence, who was a real triumph last time she was in Leicester. But didn't get quite so many of the points this time. She was in 3rd place. 2nd place was Clement Freud, and he was 3 points behind Paul Merton. So once again, Paul Merton is your winner. Thank you. It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 delightful players of the game: Paul Merton, Josie Lawrence, Clement Freud, Chris Neill. I also thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, blown her whistle with great aplomb. And we're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. We are grateful to our producer, Talusha Galani. So from our lovely audience at Leicester, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and from the panel, goodbye, but tune in the next time we play Just a Minute. Yes! Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners throughout the world, but also to welcome to the programme this week 4 talented, exuberant, and delightful players of this game. Once again, they've come together to show their ingenuity with words, their ability with humour and verbal dexterity as they try and speak on a subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And those 4 are seated on my right, Tony Hawks and Giles Brandreth, and seated on my left, Janie Godley and Kit Hesketh Harvey. Please welcome all 4 of them. Seated beside me is Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me with the score, and she will blow a whistle when the 60 seconds are up. And this particular show is coming from the Corn Exchange in that delightful town on the Norfolk coast, King's Lynn. And we have an enthusiastic audience who've returned because they heard how good it was the last time we were in King's Lynn. And we're going to begin the show with Giles Brandreth. Oh, a nice topical subject to begin the show, Norfolk Broads. Oh, yes, you've met a few in your time, obviously. 60 seconds as usual, Giles, starting now.
We call them Norfolk Broads because that's what they are, a couple of gorgeous King's Lynn girls, broad of beam and soft to the touch. They wear Norfolk jackets and smoke pipes. I gave them loose tobacco for Christmas. They said, thanks for the shag. They're those sorts of women. In this part of the country, you find big-hearted Berthas. In fact, their names...
Janie challenged.
Big.
The big-hearted is...
And he said 2 big ladies before.
Big, yes.
There were 2 big girls. Big-hearted is one word.
No, one is a hyphenated word, doesn't matter, it's big. You repeated the word big. It's separated from hearted.
Hyphens don't count.
Oh, you better give him it, Nicholas, he's getting all scratchy.
We're not working in a literary sense, we're working in an oral sense.
Right.
So big was repeated. So, Janie, you have a correct challenge. So you get a point for that, of course, in this game. You take over the subject, and there are 36 seconds still available, and it's Norfolk Broads starting now.
I came to the Norfolk Broads in 1982. I hired a boat in Thetford, and I went away up the river, and... Yeah, go for it.
Kit, you challenge.
Look, I'm sorry to pull the local one on here, but if you had a boat in Thetford, you would... If you nowhere near the Norfolk Broads we have...
Yeah, I picked up the boatman in there and he drove us to the river. Okay, that was a big lie. Because obviously this game is all about the exact truth.
No. You can pick up an awful lot of things in Thetford.
Yeah.
No, but I think when you go into the surreal, we know, but when you're making a statement which is factual,
yeah, I agree.
You can't go that far. Norfolk Broads, 30 seconds with you, Kit, starting now.
The wenches of the Fen have to be big because they're built for potato lifting, sugar beet mashing, turkey strangling. This is a fantastic race of people. The Norfolk Broads were built when they dig for peace, apparently.
Giles challenge.
Repetition of built.
Built, yes, I'm sorry.
They were built this way,
yes,
and now
you're absolutely right, Giles. I so defer.
That's all right. 17 seconds with you, Giles, on the Norfolk Broads, starting now.
Coastal erosion means it is only a matter of time before Thetford is indeed the point at which one sets off for one's holiday on the Norfolk Broads. 1,000 years from now, when Nicholas is still presiding over the Millennium Plus 40 edition of Just a Minute, there will be a seaside programme coming from the Norfolk Broads.
So Giles Brandreth was speaking then as the whistle went, and in this game, whoever is doing that gains an extra point. And you won't be surprised to know that he's in the lead at the end of the round. Janie Godley has 1, Kit Hesketh Harvey has 1, Tony has yet to speak. Janie Godley, would you like to take the lead in the second subject? It's called Under the Influence. Can you tell us something about that subject? I don't think there's any personal having chosen this for you, Janie. And 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
Most people think that being a Glaswegian, you are very often under the influence. Contrary to popular belief, I don't actually drink alcohol. I do, in fact, eat loads of chocolate, which is an addiction in itself. As long as it's not flavoured by whiskey, I will be fine in most circumstances. Under the influence is how I lived my life. I owned a bar in Glasgow and made lots of money.
Tony challenge.
I think she said Glasgow twice.
No.
Unfortunately, she did.
Yeah.
She said, as I'm a Glaswegian, they think that I would therefore be under influence.
Cunning.
Yes.
It's a bit like being a Thetfordonian.
It wasn't cunning. It was the way you play the game for effect and win. So she had an incorrect challenge. She gets another point for that. And she still has 38 seconds to go under the influence if she can, starting now.
I love alcohol. I'm often known for my
wait a minute.
drinking. I know.
Kit, you challenge.
I'm sorry, she did say alcohol
I know,
before.
I know.
I'm sorry.
It's
I always forget that you can't.
Yes, I know, it's vicious, isn't it, this
Yeah,
game?
let's change
And
the
then
rules.
they interrupt you and you have to
Oh,
try and remember
Kit,
what you
stop
said
being so
before.
nice. You know you really want it. Come on.
Right, 35 seconds are still available, and it's with you, Kit, under the influence, starting now.
Nicholas is under the influence of Snatogen and Benadryl.
Tony, challenge.
Was there a bit of a hesitation? Did he stumble?
There was a bit of
He
a
was, yes.
hesitation.
I
and
was a bit under the influence, I'm afraid.
Yes, yeah. And actually, I'd give it to you anyway after what you've just said. Right, correct challenge. Hesitation. Tony, with you. 33 seconds, under the influence, starting now.
We are all under the influence of Chairman Nicholas, who leads us with such valiant skill.
Kit, challenge.
Deviation.
Do you know, I always thought you were my friend. That was a really cheap laugh.
It was a cheap laugh. No, it doesn't bear even thinking
I
about it.
can't even give you a bonus point.
No, you can't.
No, and I can't even take one away, which I'd like to do. So, Tony, 26 seconds still available, under the influence, starting now.
I once recorded a radio pilot under the influence with Rory McGrath. He was a very bad influence on me, bringing a bottle of wine out and placing it between us as this panel game went on. At the time, I thought I was being hilarious. Then when I listened to it back, it was deeply embarrassing, and I swore never to do it again. And to this day, I have remained faithful to that promise. The other man, on the other hand, has
Kit, you challenged.
Sorry, other. It was fascinating,
Yes.
but he
And
said
you've
other
done it.
twice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Half a second you've got on, under the influence, starting now.
Giles is on poppers.
So at the end of that round, Kit Hesketh-Harvey was speaking as a whistle. Wayne gained that extra point, and he's taken a commanding lead. He's 2 ahead of all the others. Now, Kit, it's actually your turn to begin. Another topical subject here, Sandringham. Tell us something about... It's in Norfolk, isn't it? 60 seconds, Kit, starting now.
Sandringham is indeed in Norfolk. It's the big house to the very beautiful town in which we now sit, King's Lynn. Oh!
Giles.
Hesitation.
We call that hesitation, Giles, yes. Sandringham is with you, and there are 55 seconds available, starting now.
There is an invisible moat surrounding Her Majesty the Queen. Nobody is entirely normal with her. But when our gracious lady is at Sandringham, she relaxes, playing Scrabble with the corgis, watching her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, scrubbing around in the bushes looking for local birds. It's wonderful to see the royal couple at their most easy, because Sandringham was actually acquired by Queen Victoria in 1862 as a gift for her son, then Prince of Wales. He wanted somewhere to go with his wife. In fact, he wanted to leave Alexandra there while he went in
Tony
search of
challenged you. It's very, very interesting, but you've been challenged.
Well, they're two wanteds.
Well, yeah, he wanted. He wanted to go, she wanted to go, he wanted to go. And that's
Yeah.
repetition.
Do you want to go?
No, I'm so excited I can contain myself. The 23 seconds, Tony, it's with you now. Sandringham, starting now.
I can tell you many more interesting facts about Sandringham than Giles Brandreth. I just don't want to show off. But what I will do is tell you that I...
Kit challenge.
Sorry to tell you.
We will tell you, yes. He was struggling there. 12 seconds. Sandringham's back with you, Kit, starting now.
Sandringham actually has its own time zone because the Prince of Wales so liked his birds, he had the clocks fixed so that the...
I thought you said something quite disgusting then.
No. The clocks fixed,
Yes, I
said,
know.
Nicholas. Clocks.
Clocks.
Yes,
That's what you wanted to
Yes.
say. It came out as a...
It did not. Did it really?
And Giles, you've got in with 6 seconds on Sandringham, starting now.
George VI acquired Sandringham from the Duke of Windsor, curiously.
Kit challenged again.
Acquired. He said acquired.
No,
Acquired,
no,
yes.
no, bought earlier.
Was it?
Hang on, I'll check my
Play the
notes.
tape back.
Could you just check your notes, Janie?
Okay.
There's a lovely picture of Thetford.
Yes, there is. No, you said bought before, I think.
You're quite right, Giles. You did say bought. 3 seconds with you, Giles, on Sandringham starting now.
The croquet lawn at Sandringham is something to be seen, to be believed, because it really is a most...
So Giles was speaking as the whistle went and showing off his knowledge of Sandringham there, because he obviously spends a lot of time up there. Helped him get a lot of points, and he's taken the lead now. 1 ahead of Kit Hesketh Harvey, and 2 or 3 ahead of Tony Hawks and Janie Godley, in that order. Tony, would you start the next round? The subject is A Charmed Life. Tell us something about that in this game, starting now.
The life of a just-a-minute panellist is surely a charmed life. The opportunity to come to a beautiful place like King's Lynn, to sit on a stage, talk for 1 minute without hesitating, deviating, or repeating that much, certainly hoping the others don't spot you. What a charmed life that is! One could be doing heavy lifting somewhere. I might do that afterwards, just for fun, but I don't have to, and that's my point. And a good one it is too, I think you'll all agree. I was once carried aloft after one of these shows by the audience, simply because of the verbal dexterity I had shown. I would challenge anyone to say that that was not the most magnificent way to pass your years on this earth. There is no better pastime you could ever enjoy than being a person who sits on the... Has everybody got it?
We were enjoying it.
No, we were being a bit naughty, Tony, and letting you go. And you went magnificently with a lot of errors, but you went for 53 seconds, actually.
Yay!
Oh. So we will give
longer
you...
than that, surely.
That felt like about 25 minutes.
So we give you a bonus point for what you achieved then, but Janie, you challenged, which is, of course, for hesitation, because you did stop, and you take over the subject with 7 seconds on A Charmed Life, starting now.
Being a snake charmer would be a fantastic life that would make you charmed. Only sitting with a basket between one's legs, wondering what would come...
So Tony Godley is speaking of the whistle weighing game. That extra point is now equal to Tony Hawks. Tony, after all your efforts, you're still training the others by a point or two. Actually, Giles, it's your turn to begin.
Yes.
And a good one for you, knowing your political background. Diplomatic immunity. 60 seconds starting now.
This is a good one for me because I am delighted to talk on this subject as I feel very passionately about it. When I was, in fact, a Member of Parliament, before the people spoke and dismissed me so rudely as they did, I tried to introduce legislation to stop the taking advantage of diplomatic immunity. It all dates back to some legislation in the 1950s called the Vienna Convention that led to the Diplomatic Immunities Act of 1978, which allows Johnny Foreigner into this country with a capacious handbag into which he or she can put anything they damn well like. And they're bringing in the most extraordinary material, I have to tell you. Yes, magazines from Copenhagen, the like of which would make Kit Hesketh's Harvey hair come back. It is extraordinary what these diplomats are trying to get away with. They bring in white mice. Yes?
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, Tony challenge.
Repetition of bring.
Yes, we're bringing in too much, I'm afraid. It went magnificent. You went for 13 from 60 is 47. 47 seconds, not bad.
Very good.
Not quite the 53 that he did, but well done. You were challenged, a correct challenge by Tony. Diplomatic immunity starting now.
I have been immunised against diplomats, which means I can never catch one. When I'm chasing one up a road, this is very a disadvantage in many ways if they've stolen your hand.
Kit challenge.
This is very a disadvantage in many ways.
Yes. I think deviation
from
English as we
the
understand
lovely English tongue that we all share.
So you've got him with 3 seconds, Kit, on diplomatic immunity starting now.
Talking of sharing tongues, when the whistle is blown in just a minute, it is diplomatic to have immunity.
So Kit Hesketh Harvey speaking as a whistle weighing game. That extra point is now 1 ahead of Giles. It's an equal 7, 6, 5, 4 in that sequence, and you can work out which one's in which place. Right, Kit, it's back with you. Would you like to take the next subject? Dressing up. Tell us something about that in this game. You do a fair amount of that in your work, professionally, appearing before an audience. Talk about it. 60 seconds, as usual, starting now.
As Nicholas says, I do dress up a great deal in my work, but more intriguingly, later tonight, if you go down to the docks around the corner here in King's Lynn, you will see a fabulous-looking creature waiting for the Russian sailors to come in, called Nicola. She has lovely long legs and a beautiful chinchilla wrap, and is curiously reminiscent of Nicholas Parsons, but it wouldn't be wise to suggest this, because in fact, he...
Giles' challenge.
Hesitation?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Hesitation.
It's stuck in my throat, it
I
did.
know.
Yes, it did.
That's what you said about me. I'm sure it's stuck in your throat. So, Giles, you have another correct challenge. You have 36 seconds. Dressing up is the subject, and you start now.
When I was a little boy, I had a dressing-up box that was supplied by the Old Vic Theatre Company. I had that sort of background. And it was curious because other children would turn up at the parties dressed as, goodness gracious me, Indians and cowboys. But I came as Richard III, aged 7. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by our son of York. I warbled as the other children threw things in my face like...
Repetition of children.
Yeah, there were a lot of children around then, because all those other children, and you warbled and...
He looks so disappointed. He did about a minute in the last round.
That's okay. So, Tony, correct challenge. 12 seconds are still available. You tell us something about dressing up, starting now.
It's a Monday night in King's Lynn, so I'm not dressing up. But come Friday, I'll be up here, up and down.
Kit, you challenge
He
first.
was up and up. Repetition of.
Yes. 6 seconds are still available on this subject. Dressing up it is with you, Kit, starting now.
I suppose a dressing up is the opposite of a dressing down. If you say to somebody, you've done really well and I'm extremely proud of you, that could be
Kit Hesketh Harvey was speaking as the whistle went. He's now moved forward, and he's equal in the lead with Giles Brandreth. The other two are only a point or two behind him. Tony Hawks, it's your turn to begin. And the subject is my superpower. Ooh, says somebody in the audience. Oh, your mother, obviously. And 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
If I was to strip off this beautiful jacket that I'm wearing now, you would see underneath just a minute man written there. For I can speak for 60 seconds without hesitating, deviating or repeating, and that is enough of a power... Oh, I did this earlier.
Giles, you've challenged.
Hesitation.
Yes, he
Ran
stopped.
to a standstill.
He came to a stop,
I ran
yes.
out of superpowers.
And, you know, I think he got bored with what he was saying, actually. 44 seconds with you, Giles, on my superpower, starting now.
My superpower is the United States of America. I know it is fashionable to knock them, but I do think that that isn't fair. My personal superpower, of course, is my sexual charisma. Admittedly, I am only appealing to people who are...
Janie challenged.
I just don't believe him.
And as the only woman on the panel, I have to go with your reaction.
I'm sorry, Giles.
I was going on to qualify it.
I love you, but the whole acrylic thing and sexual prowess isn't working for me.
Come all the way to King's Lynn just to be insulted.
I go all over the country to be insulted. So 32 seconds, Janie, on my superpower, starting now.
My superpower is my ability to explode electric light bulbs and anything else that can carry a current of any kind. Fridges, microwaves, irons, hair dryers, calculators, computers, laptops, you name it, I've made it break. There is something strangely wrong with me. I may be Electra. That could be my superpower. I once gave a baby a terrible electric shock and its wee hair standed on end.
Giles challenged.
Sorry, repeat of electric.
You had an electric
I know,
shock,
but
actually.
people can believe I am electric.
And people can believe I've got sexual charisma. People will believe anything nowadays.
I agree.
So, Giles, you've got the subject back again. There are 8 seconds still for you to go on my superpower, starting now.
Superpower is to do with energy, verve and brio.
Tony challenged.
I've got a bit of a headache. I was just wondering if he could keep it down a bit. Say the same things, but just do it with a little bit less. Hey,
Tony is sitting next to Giles,
that thing
and
in front of you, it's a microphone. What it does is it amplifies your voice, you see.
So, Tony, you have explained it. You're sitting next to him, and his surge of energy like that was overpowering for you. So the audience loved what you said, so we give you a bonus point for that, Tony. Giles was interrupted, so he gets a point for that. He keeps the subject. There are 4 seconds still available. My superpower starting now.
Some people think that I am on drugs, Class A, of course, because I'm a conservative, but in fact the truth is that my superpower is natural.
So Giles Brandreth is again speaking as a Whistlewain, gained that extra point, and he's increased his lead over the other 3, ahead of the other 3, I should say. And Giles, also, it's your turn to begin. I know you know a lot about this, because it was your era. The swinging 60s. That's the subject. Tell us something about it, starting now.
I was indeed there the first time around during the swinging 60s.
Tony.
I think he hesitated.
Oh,
I can't tell
yes.
you how happy I am.
Yeah.
I was sure there was going to be 1 minute coming out all about his 60s. I think that's a result for all of us.
No, there are 57 seconds still available, and it's with you, Tony. Swinging 60s starting now.
They say that if you can remember the swinging 60s, you weren't there. But I was only a wee lad, and I had a very sobriety time.
Challenge.
Sobriety time what? Sorry, Tony, please.
No, whatever your challenge is, you're right with it.
48 seconds are still available. Kid, you tell us something about swinging 60s starting now.
I was a child of the 60s, but very sadly I was a teenager of the 70s, which was when it really mattered, and instead of the Beatles I got the Bay City Rollers. Instead of Twiggy, it was Thatcher.
Giles, challenge.
Instead of,
instead.
I'm sorry.
Instead. Right, Giles, it's back with you. 38 seconds, swinging 60s starting now.
I was flattered to be invited to a swinging 60s party recently, and I turned up in my Beatles wig and wearing my flares to find a lot of very old people, naked and wrinkled and rotting. It turned out to be a swingers party for people in their 60s. I was there under a terrible misapprehension.
Tony, you challenge.
I don't want to hear any more. But I think he repeated party.
Yes, there was a party there. You did repeat. Yes, you went to a swinging 60s party, and I didn't at this party. So, but we did enjoy it and mention it. So, and Tony, so you got a correct challenge in 22 seconds. Swinging 60s starting now.
I bought myself some flared trousers. I'd seen some of the other people of the 60s doing that, and I looked terrific. I cut out a little triangle, inserted it into my jeans, but did it in the crotch, which was a mistake. And it led to a lot of people asking me what the hell I was wearing and why I...
Giles challenge.
Definition of people. He saw other people doing it.
Yes, that's right. You were right. You don't need to emphasize it. I agree. 4 seconds on swinging 60s starting now.
Sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Please let it stop.
So what's your challenge?
Sorry, I've seen these images of Giles now, and I think Tony's with me on this one.
So you think he was into that sex?
Well, it was deviation, quite clearly, by definition.
Why?
From the law, sex, drugs, and rock.
No.
No, I mean, there was sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Was there,
going on.
Nicholas?
Yes, I was around.
Where are you?
I was part of the scene.
Would you like to tell us?
But not the drugs. I've never touched drugs. I was certainly, well, it was when I was youthful, so I had a little bit of sexual experience.
Did you?
I just love the way. I love the way Nicholas went. I was part of the scene. It's just.
I actually was. I think it was a very exciting time. I'll tell you something else about the 60s.
Tell us in a minute without deviating, hesitating.
The swinging 60s was a very exciting time to be alive. There was sex, and there was rock and roll, and lots of other things, but there was a great deal of love around. People were giving out to each other. There was the flower people and so forth like that. Also, all kinds of things were happening at that particular time. We were getting rid of archaic and arcane attitudes and behaviours. You know, the Wolfenden report came out, and that was made consenting adults of a different sex acceptable. And there were also wonderful cabaret shows, sophisticated comedy. It was an amazing time to be alive. Everybody was giving out. They were going. They were. You've challenged me, Giles.
We were almost there.
You were almost there. Yes, I've got one to 57 seconds. Yay! I also met Giles Brandreth in the 60s, didn't I?
You did?
Yes.
Indeed. I was getting onto that when I was talking about the party, but...
Well, you... You had the challenge, and there were 3 seconds to go, Giles, starting now.
Marion Faithfull slept in my bed. Maddeningly, I was elsewhere at the time.
I don't know how we score that particular round, because for once the chairman joined in. And this was to be the last round, and indeed it is, and Giles brought it to an end in style and got that extra point for doing so. Let me give you the final situation. Janie Godley, who contributes so marvellously, but she only did finish in a wonderful 4th place. She was only a couple of points behind our 3rd place, who's Kit Hesketh-Harvey. He was only 1 point behind our 2nd place, which is Tony Hawks. So obviously you enjoyed the contribution that they all gave, but this time poetic justice, because last time, if you remember, no, you wouldn't remember.
I don't want this. I don't want this. This is too big for me.
No.
I'd like to share this victory with Tony.
Giles is referring
to... I tell you that the McCartneys may not be able to sort things out, but Tony and I have come to an amicable agreement. Whenever we appear on this programme together, we will be equal winners.
I must explain to our listeners that the last time we were in King's Lynn, which of course a lot of people here won't know about, but there were only 1 point separated Tony Hawks and Giles Brandreth, so I put them together as equal winners. And Tony objected, so I had to get him a special round of applause as the winner by 1 point. So as we have poetic justice, and Giles has beaten him, Tony, on this occasion, I think we should say Giles is our genuine winner. A round of applause for him, please. So it only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 intrepid and delightful players of the game. Tony Hawks, Giles Brandreth, Janie Godley, and Kit Hesketh-Harvey. I also thank Trudy Stevens, who's blown her whistle so well, and also we thank our producer, Talusha Galani. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game, and we're also grateful to this lovely audience here at the Corn Exchange in King's Lynn, who've cheered us on our way. From our audience, from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the panel, goodbye. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute! Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you, hello. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners in this country and throughout the world. But also to welcome to the show this week 4 intelligent, articulate, clever, amusing individuals who are going to show off their verbal dexterity, their ingenuity with words and language as they try and speak on the subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And they are, seated on my right, Paul Merton and Clement Freud, and seated on my left, Lisa Tarbuck and Jack Dee. Would you please welcome all 4 of them? Thank you. Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me with the score, blow a whistle when the 60 seconds are up. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Greenwich Theatre in that lovely area of southeast London, which is called Greenwich. And that's why it's called the Greenwich Theatre. And we have a lovely Greenwich-type audience in the audience here who've come from far and wide to cheer us on our way. So we begin the show. Let's begin with Jack Dee. He's only played it once before. Jack. Oh, a good subject, a topical subject. The 2012 Olympics. Will you tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now?
The 2012 Olympics are, of course, a huge excitement. One of the things I think they've missed out from the plans is to involve a village idiot for the Olympics. I think that every Olympiad should have an Olympics village idiot.
Clement Freud challenge.
2 village idiots.
2 village idiots.
I got carried away with the idea, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, maybe 2 would be more fun than just 1, I don't know. Clement, you get a point for a correct challenge. We give Jack Dee a point, for we loved his contribution there, which is a bonus point to him. Clement, you have the subject, the 2012 Olympics. 46 seconds available, starting now.
The very good news I have for the people of Greenwich is the 2012 Olympics have been given to London. And as soon as I heard that we had the 2012 Olympics, I went into training. It was...
Paul challenge.
Slight hesitation.
There was a hesitation. Yes, he made his point about his training. They all looked at him, and no, it was a great joke. He deserved his response.
I was going to say the over 80s pole vault.
I'll join you, Clement.
Good.
But Paul, you had a correct challenge, so you get a point for that. And you have 28 seconds, Paul. The 2012 Olympics starting now.
London bid against all other major cities in the world. Not all of them, because some of them are before.
Clement challenged.
Repetition of all?
Yes, on all of them, yes. So, Clement, you got in with the correct challenge again, and you have 18 seconds to take over the 2012 Olympics, starting now.
I think to have Brighton, Hove and Winchelsea as places where people are going to pull weights, I'm not sure
Jack,
where this is getting me.
That was hesitation.
It was hesitation, Jack, yes. And you've got in with 10 seconds available. Tell us something about the 2012 Olympics starting now.
If this was not on the radio, you would be able to see that I am, of course, in peak physical condition, and I intend to stay that way for the next 4 years or so that I can take part in the Olympiad, which I am so...
In this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. On this occasion it was Jack D. He's now equal in the lead with Clement Freud, then Paul Merton, then Lisa Tarbuck. And Lisa, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject is the perfect Sunday afternoon. Just have a little thought about it, then talk on the subject. 60 seconds, starting now.
Let's suppose I've had quite a late brunch of perhaps thickly chopped mushrooms in a pan with some goat's butter and half a tin of cherry tomatoes on top, lightly fried just to evaporate and make it a bit thicker, on rye, because that's my favourite, preferred at the moment, and 15 pots of tea with the cryptic crosswords from the Observer and the Times. I'm already blissed off my chonk, and anything you bring into me, I can only say to you, will just make my day better, brighter.
Jack has challenged you.
I would prefer we keep street parlance out of this, wouldn't you?
List of my chonk.
List?
I have no idea.
So you're challenging for what?
Deviation from good English.
No. I think everybody in the audience understood what she meant by it.
No.
Thank you.
It's a lovely phrase. I'm going to try and remember that once. What was it you said?
I said, blissed off my chonk. Have I ever said it before? No.
How many people in the audience have been pissed off their chonk?
No,
blissed off your chonk.
Not on a Sunday morning.
Well, some Sunday mornings is quite nice, isn't it?
Well, yeah, to be fair, yeah.
I don't know if Lisa's idyllic Sunday was drinking heavily on her own.
That would make me quite lonely, wouldn't it?
Yes, but anyway, it was an incorrect challenge, so...
Drinking heavily at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. 30 seconds are still available, Lisa. The perfect Sunday afternoon starting now.
With a little liaison avec my ginger friend, who happens to be Welsh with a dog.
Full challenge.
It's a bit garbled in there, was it? Sort of
terribly garbled, yeah. I don't know. Her ginger friend, who was something about a dog.
The front row understood.
Yeah. I didn't understand it.
With a little lure, because basically he whines to let me know he needs to go for a walk.
I tell you what, Lisa, we didn't understand it, but you didn't hesitate, deviate, or repeat anything.
5 points or by my silence.
No. So we give you the
benefit... Why didn't you say this years ago?
We give you the benefit of the doubt, Lisa. Keep the subject, and you have 24 seconds. The perfect Sunday afternoon starting now.
Opening a bottle of wine at about 11:30 and making sure...
Jack challenge.
Excuse me, this is deviation, because we're talking about perfect Sunday afternoon, 11:30 is in the morning.
Well, isn't that preparation for the afternoon?
Thank
starting
you,
drinking
Mr.
at
Merton.
11:30?
Not in just a minute.
No, really?
The subject is the perfect Sunday afternoon. She had gone to 11:30 in the morning. So, Jack...
Because otherwise we could be talking about Saturday afternoon, which leads into Sunday morning, which leads into Sunday afternoon. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I think best to nip it in the bud.
And you have 21 seconds to carry on, take over the subject. Jack, the perfect Sunday afternoon starting now.
When I think of my perfect Sunday afternoon, I always imagine...
Lisa, you've challenged.
Hesitation. I thought I'd just nip it in the bud.
Well, it's shame it's got so personal, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lisa, you've got the subject back again. You've got 17 seconds. The perfect Sunday afternoon starting now.
Having drawn a beautifully temperate bath.
Paul challenge.
Is it me? Am I going deaf?
No.
I lost the sense of that in the middle of the...
It wasn't quite English. A beautiful tempt bath.
Yeah,
I went to say temperature,
I know.
and I tried to say temperate.
Yeah.
And you didn't. But I think that was a sort of a deviation from English as we understand it.
I don't doubt that. Well,
And
formally, you're right.
Paul, you have a correct challenge. 14 seconds, the perfect Sunday afternoon starting now.
There's nothing I like better on a Sunday afternoon than getting pissed off my chonk. I go down the pub, knock it back as if it's no tomorrow. I have no idea how much I consumed alcoholic-wise, but I know when at the end of the evening, if I can't remember my name...
Clement, challenge your challenge.
Repetition of no.
No.
Bit harsh.
It was a bit harsh, because we enjoyed it. You were going magnificently. But Clement's got him with 3 seconds to go on the perfect Sunday afternoon starting now.
My perfect Sunday afternoon would be in 2012.
Lisa, challenge.
Do you know what? I just did that then to try and get in with half a second.
So you've no challenge within the rules of just a minute.
I'm just a little bit, hot.
Darling, you got lots of points in that round. And
just a game,
you're doing very well. And Clement, I've got to be fair, it was an incorrect challenge. So
Quite
Clement,
right.
another point, half a second to go. The perfect Sunday afternoon starting now.
I was right. He was still hesitating.
The person who should have been speaking when the whistle went was Clement Freud, so he got that extra point on that occasion. And he's now out in the lead. He's 2 ahead of Jack D, and then the one behind was Lisa Tarbach and Paul Merton. That's the situation. And Clement, will you begin the next round? The subject... No, something's happened. Oh, the watch has gone funny. Is the watch working now? I must explain to our listeners, because the audience are intrigued. Trudy never speaks, she just mimes everything. She's not actually deaf and dumb.
Can I just say, Nicholas, I think Trudy's doing a really good job, and if this ends up in a tribunal, I want no part of it.
Trudy also has a sense of humour, and she knows it's all done for fun. In fact, this is what we do, the whole thing for
You
fun.
never can tell these days. They'll laugh away, and next thing you know, you've got a court order slapped on you.
She smiles a lot, but never speaks right. Some men's dream, isn't it? I wasn't suggesting for a moment it was my dream. I said it is some chauvinist-type people's dream. I'm not a chauvinist. Oh, and I've embraced the opposite sex as many times as I possibly can. And good luck to them. They're taking over the world, unfortunately. There we are.
It was going so well.
No, I'm afraid we ineffectual men have to admit that they are the stronger sex. They really do dominate, but they do very well. I'm digging a hole for myself, aren't I? Right. I think
you've just hit the Bakerloo line, haven't you?
Oh, forgive me. Clement, it's your turn to begin. So now can you talk about Behind the Times? 60 seconds starting now.
When the Times decreased its volume, or rather the pages became smaller than they were, it was very difficult to be behind the Times and not miss an awful lot of what was...
Paul, new challenge.
Well, there was a hesitation.
There was a hesitation.
Yes.
Paul, you have a correct challenge. You get a point for that. Take over the subject. 49 seconds. Behind the Times, starting now.
Just a Minute is 40 years older this year, and if you listen to the very early recordings, you can hear Clement and Kenneth and Peter Jones and Derek Nimmo and, of course, Nicholas indulge in this magnificent game, and in fact, it hasn't dated whatsoever. I was listening...
Clement, challenge.
Absolutely right.
Well, he's picking bonus points up all the time, isn't he? But Paul, you were interrupted. You get a point for that. You keep the subject Behind the Times. 35 seconds, starting now.
It's fascinating to listen to it, and it is incredibly, extremely fantastic to think that this programme is still running after all this length of time.
Jack, challenge.
There was a hesitation there with the words jumping
No, he was keeping going.
All this length of time.
Yes, he was struggling a little, but he didn't actually hesitate.
Right, well, I won't interrupt again then.
You might have had him for deviation of language a length of time, but it doesn't matter. No, Paul, an incorrect challenge, 25 seconds, behind the times, starting now.
The man behind the Times is literally Rupert Murdoch. The editor of that august newspaper must occasionally consult with the great newspaper baron because...
Lisa, challenge.
Newspaper.
That's right, newspaper.
Did I say newspaper? That was a bit stupid of me.
No, you talked about the newspaper and then the newspaper baron.
Oh, well, did I?
Yes, you did. Don't you listen to what you say?
I don't listen to this. It's bad enough saying it. It's everybody else I feel sorry for.
Lisa, another point to you and 15 seconds on Behind the Times, starting now.
It could be said that my lovely dad, also known as the Great Bear, is behind the times. When it was Christmas last, we all told him that the sofa was really rather uncomfortable and couldn't house all 12 of us. Would he mind shelling out to get a better one with a new chair for himself?
Well, at the end of that round, Lisa Tarbert was speaking as a whistle when getting that extra point. She's moved forward. She's still equal in third place with Jack D, just behind Paul Merton, and ahead of them is Clement Freud. And Paul, it's your turn to begin. The subject is, for what we are about to receive. That is the subject. Talk on it if you can, starting now.
For what we are about to receive, we must surely be grateful. It's something like that, isn't it? A grace that's said after a meal, or before even, I suppose, because you're talking about what you are about to receive, rather than what has been received.
Clement challenge.
Rather.
Yes.
Did I?
Yes.
No.
That's not like me.
Clement, another challenge correct to you, and 49 seconds available for what we are about to receive, starting now.
Is what the manager tends to tell the receptionist for what we are about to receive. For God's sake, be careful and say we're fully booked. There's no more accommodation in this nice hostelry to which they are trying to go. For what we are about to receive, may the Lord make us truly thankful, is what you tend to get before a meal, irrespective of the quality of the food that follows. Yeah.
Paul challenge.
Hesitation.
Yeah, there was. I don't know where he was going.
It stopped, yeah.
It stopped, yes.
Is that hesitation?
If you stop, it's definitely...
No, I deliberately stopped.
It's probably only hesitation if he starts again.
That's right. Yes.
But
if
in
I
just
can't have a point, could I have the benefit of the doubt?
No. Because that's the only way we can interpret. If someone comes to a halt, they have hesitated. So, Paul, correct challenge. 22 seconds for what we are about to receive, starting now.
If you play the noble game of cricket and you're a batsman, you can look down to the other wicket and think to yourself, the bowler is coming towards me now. He may be fast, slow, medium pace, but you have to say to yourself, for what I'm about to receive, I must be truly grateful, because here is a chance to score a run, perhaps a 4, a boundary, 6, any kind of number of runs could...
Sorry, run and runs. Sorry, I got the runs there, and
you anticipated
I got that wrong. My apologies.
You needn't apologise. It's always nice hearing from you, Jack.
All right, good. I'll do it more often then.
But I'm afraid Paul got in with... You challenged him with half a second to go. So another half second, Paul, on what we're about to receive, starting now.
Radiograms and hot air balloons!
Right. So Paul Merton was then speaking as a whistle win, gained that extra point. He's moving up on our leader, Clement Freud. And Lisa, it's with you to begin. The subject now, regional accents. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
To understand a regional accent, the best thing to do is have a look at the geography of the area. For example, if you were going into central England and therefore perhaps Birmingham, you might recognise that the area looks like
Clement, challenge.
Recognise.
Recognise, yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's right.
It's better than area.
Repetition, yes. 49 seconds, Clement. Regional accents starting now.
You will know that I'm pretty good at regional accents. For instance, my Cornish is better than Devon. Somerset and Wiltshire come next. I then do Sussex with extreme skill. Whereas...
Paul challenged.
Clement, would you mind treating us?
Are you going to respond to the challenge?
I was going to do Suffolk and Norfolk and Lincoln next.
All right. So you get a bonus point because we enjoyed the interruption. Clement's got to keep the subject and respond to the challenge. And there are 34 seconds, regional accents, Clement, starting now.
My Derbyshire accent is probably the most notable, and that which people frequently request I do during my...
Paul challenge.
Clement, would you do your Derbyshire accent? It's the one you get all the requests for, isn't it?
Yeah.
You swear you're in Derbyshire when you hear it, you really will.
Paul, we enjoyed the interruption. Another point to you. Clement's still got the subject. He's got 25 seconds with your Derbyshire accent starting now.
We had in Suffolk a man called the Singing Postman, who had the most wonderful regional accent. Have you got a light boy?
Oh.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have challenged them. It was repetition of accent.
It was a repetition of accent.
We've had accents is on the car, but it's accent.
And you were saying accent in the singular then?
Yeah.
So, Paul, you've last got the subject. And you've got 18 seconds on regional accents starting now.
Various cities throughout this country could be heard in the... Oh, no.
Jack.
That was a really good bit as well.
All right. Maybe again.
There was a hesitation.
There was a hesitation.
A hesitation in a sort of South London accent, so I would say...
I was about to give you a panoply.
14 seconds, Jack. Tell us something about regional accents starting now.
Regional accents are something of a misnomer, of course, because it isn't the area that has the accent rather than the people who live within it. I usually think that regional accents are rather charming, and I like to hear...
Clement challenge.
Repetition of rather.
Yes. Yes.
Well, if we're going to split hairs, yes.
So, you've got in another point, Clement. 2 seconds on regional accents starting now.
The regional accents in the northeast of England.
So, Clement Freud's regional accents, which he never demonstrated, though he was challenged frequently to do so, kept him going, and he's now increased his lead at the end of that round, ahead of Paul Merton in second place, Jack D, and then Lisa Tarbuck in that order. And the subject is... Jack, we'd like you to begin this round. It's traffic jam.
How long do I have? A minute?
You have a minute. You have 60 seconds. I'm fascinated, Jack, that you write down that you've got a minute.
Well, because I'm not. I'm actually, I have written it down, but what I've realised that as it doesn't change on the paper, so it doesn't help. It doesn't work like a stopwatch.
Yeah.
I write a second on every page and then flick through one at a time.
Thanks, Susan. That's a nice tip. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Paul. That'll help.
Anyway, Jack, it's traffic jams. Tell us something about that in this game, starting now.
For my last birthday, I was delighted to be given a pot of strawberry conserve.
Lisa, you challenged.
Hesitation.
It was a hesitation.
Well, that was quite interesting, and if you had not interrupted, you would have found out a bit more about that. But now you'll never know, because I...
55 seconds still available, Lisa. Traffic jams starting now.
There's nothing I like...
Paul, yes.
There was a hesitation
There
there,
was a
wasn't
hesi-
there? Oh,
You never
could have
got
made a
going,
ham
my
sandwich
darling.
then,
It was
couldn't
because
you?
he was talking. He was talking in my ear, putting me off.
I know he was putting
He
you off.
was, yeah.
I think,
was he?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think.
Really
Paul,
aggressively.
Paul, I tell you what I do. To be utterly fair, I give you a point because it was a correct challenge, but at least to the benefit of the doubt, because Jack was nobbling her. And
but it's
funny
okay.
how nerves take you.
professionally, not physically. And, well, he was physical, but not the other way.
He was physical.
Lisa,
My
you
lord.
have the benefit of the doubt, and you have traffic jams still, and there are 53 seconds starting now.
There's absolutely nothing I like more.
Clement challenge.
Deviation.
Why?
She didn't hesitate.
True.
She didn't hesitate.
But it's not a correct challenge, Clement.
A lesser woman would crumble.
That'd not be a
But it was a clever one, so give him a bonus point. He loves his bonus points. Lisa, you got a point for an incorrect challenge, and there are 52 seconds. Traffic jams starting now.
Nothing...
Correct challenge.
That was a sudden hold.
That was. A definite hesitation.
Hesitation,
Right.
yeah.
And you have 50 seconds available still on traffic jams, Paul, starting now.
Traffic jams, what a wonderful subject that is. We've all been stuck in traffic jams at some time in our life or other. I was travelling here today from central London. Indeed, I got caught up in a traffic jam, so there was nothing for it. I jumped into the River Thames and swam the rest of the way. I'm dedicated to this show. He doesn't care. They can't stop me. I wasn't even booked tonight. Kit Hesketh Harvey's in a cupboard back there. I've tied him up.
Jack, you challenge.
It's deviation, really, because if you're in a traffic jam, you should have taken a deviation from that point.
Yes.
But also, you started talking about swimming, and that's not...
To avoid the traffic jam?
No, you don't get off that lightly. Not in my book.
All right, he was deviating. Well done, Jack. You have 34 seconds on traffic jams. Jack, look, you keep flirting.
Sir, Lisa just put me off.
I know. The two of you are having little games together there.
They separate them. Separate them.
Naughty boy. Right. You write the numbers first, don't you? 34 seconds. You're going to write it down?
I will, yes, so I know. And I like
Remember, that number is subject to change.
It is,
And there are 34 seconds. Traffic jams, Jack, starting now.
Going back to the aforementioned celebration when I was presented with...
Clement challenge.
What does he mean by aforementioned?
Well, he mentioned his celebration once before.
My birthday, yeah.
Your birthday, yes.
Repetition.
But not... It's a repetitious thought, but he wasn't repeating anything within this round of Just a Minute, Clement.
No.
Has he spoken in this round of Just a Minute?
Yes, he has.
I did. I started it. I started it, Clement.
Nurse, he's out of bed again.
That was a long time ago.
Jack, you've still got the subject. You've got a point as well. 30 seconds, traffic jams, starting bed.
As I was saying, I was presented with a very nice jar of strawberry conserve, and in it were little confectionery...
Clement challenge.
Repetition of strawberries. He had just got to strawberries.
I can see this story isn't going to get told, is it?
So did you repeat strawberries?
Probably yes.
Right.
It's quite difficult not to.
So 25 seconds available, Clement. Another point. And the subject to you, traffic jams, starting now.
I was in Buckfast Lee, not far from Totnes in Devon, and using my regional accent...
Paul challenge.
So, no, it was a bit... No, I thought it was a hesitation, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't a hesitation, no, Paul. So Clement has another point, and he has 20 seconds on traffic jams, starting now.
I had a Devonshire tea and said, that's traffic jam. And they said...
My immediate thought was east side of Chicago.
So what's your challenge?
Well, I don't think that's a Devonshire accent, is it?
Well, it's...
Do we get a lot of listeners in Devon? I'm sure we do.
Yeah. Well, it was Clement's attempt to try and do a Devon accent, but I don't think it quite came off somehow.
What part of Welsh is that?
That's very cruel, Clement. And,
Strangely accurate.
Paul, what was your challenge when the rules just met?
Well, it wasn't a Devonshire accent.
It was deviation from a
deviation.
Devonshire accent.
Yeah.
So you have a point. You have 14 seconds. Traffic jams starting now.
I have traffic jam experience going throughout the country. If you go to Liverpool, you think of various composers that might fit the Scouse accent. Mozart! That's a good example. If you go to Birmingham...
These are challenged.
Deviation.
What?
Mozart.
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 Don't give me that, lad. But we're suddenly on accents when in fact we were on traffic jams.
Various places, traffic jams.
I don't understand, sir.
I'm trying to do the stuff I would have done in regional accents.
Yeah, well, just hang fire.
Birmingham, Rimsky-Korsakov. But the best one is Newcastle, Schopenhauer.
I don't know what to say here now, because we've only got 5 seconds to go, and Paul keeps the subject, traffic jams, 5 seconds, starting now.
It was John Major's great contribution to democracy to come up with a cone line. Do you remember that? You had to phone a particular number.
Right. So, I said earlier that this would be the last round, and I'm afraid it is. Jack D, who's only played the game once before.
I don't want your pity. Don't want your pity.
Now I'm going to compliment you, because you did marvellously.
Thank you.
I won't mention you came in 4th place, but you did fantastic. Lisa Tarbuck, who's played it a few times, contributed amazingly. She came in third place. She's a few points behind Clement Freud and Paul Merton, who happen to be equal in the lead, so that's a very fair result. Joint winners on this side. So it only remains for me to say thank you to our 4 fine players of the game, Paul Merton, Jack Dee, Lisa Tarbuck and Clement Freud. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped me with the score, blown her whistle with such aplomb. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. We're grateful to our producer, to Lucia Gilani, and we're also grateful to this lovely audience at the Greenwich Theatre here in Greenwich. So from them and me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team, goodbye. Tune in the next time we play Just a Minute. Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners, not only in this country, but throughout the world, but also to welcome to the show 4 highly talented and experienced and dynamic players of this game, who once again are going to demonstrate their verbal dexterity, their ingenuity with language and humour as they try and speak on the subject that I give them, and try and do that without hesitation, repetition or deviation. And those 4 talented people are seated on my right, Paul Merton and Sue Perkins, and seated on my left, Graham Norton and Tony Hawkes. Will you please welcome all 4 of them? Beside me sits Trudy Stevens, who's going to help me keep the score and blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Colston Hall in that wonderful, lovely city of Bristol, which I know and love well. It's a great joy to be back here again. And Tony Hawkes, we're going to start the show on this particular subject, which is Discovering America. You tell us something about discovering America in 60 seconds, if you can, starting now.
I first discovered America in 1972, when they came on the radio singing A Horse with No Name. Oh, how I enjoyed their lovely little ditties. They had a follow-up, Tin Man, I think it was called, and that was very good fun too. Then, of course, I went to the big place and learnt that it wasn't just the name of a band, it was, in fact, a huge...
Paul, challenge.
Are you telling us that before that you'd thought America was just the name of a band, you'd never heard of it as a country?
As a little tiny boy watching his television, he could well have had that fantasy, couldn't he?
Yes, yeah. But then he got on a plane to visit a band.
Yeah.
Yes, that was his. That was the purpose of visiting America. You said, I'm going to America to visit my aunt or something.
I think he said he hadn't heard of America, the country.
I think you'll find Nicholas understands me pretty well on that.
That's going to make you pretty worried, right?
Sue, be careful, please. Now, I think we must give the benefit of the doubt to Tony, because I did understand his logic, and I think it's perfectly justified. A benefit of the doubt anyway, Tony. You still have the subject, and another point, 36 seconds, Discovering America, starting now.
My father has discovered America, lives there now with his new wife, and I'm fascinated by the difference between the British and Americans. They love telling you about all their problems, and we don't like listening to them when they do. This is one of the major...
Sue, challenge.
Repetition of 1.
Oh, yes, they'd love to tell you
One
this and one that. And you tell us something about discovering America, and there are 18 seconds available starting now.
I didn't know that America existed before I spoke to Tony in advance of the show.
Tony, challenge.
Was there a hesitation there?
There was a stumble.
Oh, a stumble.
Yes, and I think...
we call a hesitation.
Which we'll interpret as a hesitation.
In this show.
On this show. So, it's a tough... nail-biting show, isn't it?
Don't ask that question, they might answer no.
14 seconds, Discovering America, Tony, starting now.
The early settlers that went over there on the Mayflower found a beach initially, and beyond a large...
Graham, challenge.
Repetition of went.
They went, didn't they? They went before, and you went...
And I think your father went as well.
And you went, your father went? Don't look like that, Tony, you know it's true.
Look, that was silence from them.
Yes. Because they know it's true. So, Graham, another point to you in 6 seconds. Discovering America, starting now.
The thing about America is, like many of its residents, it's huge. So much bigger than you expect it to be. So when you...
And nobody mentioned that, I'm sure that was the reason the subject was put there, that John Cabot sailed from Bristol before Columbus to discover some of America. But it's just a little bit of historical information.
Did he not tell anybody?
What's that?
Did he keep it to himself?
Well, I think everybody here in Bristol knew that, didn't you? They don't get points, but you do. Graham, you were speaking as the whistle went. Another point to you. And you're now equal in the lead with Paul Merton, followed by the other two. And Paul, we're back with you to begin. And I'm a little nervous of this subject that's been thought of for him, because it says, Nicholas Parsons, Bristol relations. 60 seconds. Starting now. Sorry. Tony Hawk's you challenged.
Slight hesitation. He didn't.
Well, it wasn't really fair because he didn't quite understand. I went into a Bristol accent to say start now, and he looked at me mystified.
Oh, it was a Bristol accent.
Yeah.
Darling,
I think there was no way he could possibly have known that was you saying
I think
now.
to be fair, we will say it wasn't a legitimate challenge and it didn't happen. We'll go back to 60 seconds. Nicholas Parsons, Bristol relations, Paul, starting now.
Nicholas Parsons' Bristol relations were a funny old lot. You can still see most of them hanging outside park benches drinking from cider bottles. They were a lovely, robust family, I mock, of course. Nicholas Parsons was the man who saw off the bloke who went to discover America from the sea shore. He said, go, come back, and then return, and then go again.
Tony, you've challenged.
I think repetition of go.
Yes, I went too often, didn't I?
Yeah.
And,
Can you imagine steering that vessel with those directions?
Yeah. Left hand down a bit.
a correct challenge, which is Nicholas Parsons' Bristol relations, and the 41 seconds starting now.
We recorded a Just a Minute here in this magnificent city of Bristol several years ago, and Nicholas bored me in the bar afterwards, telling me all about his relations here in Bristol. I used that word to try and get a laugh. It didn't get one. He interested me greatly. And they were called the Maggs family, and apparently they had a supermarket or store here, and I thought that...
Graham Norton challenge.
Repetition of here.
Yes. You could have had deviation, because they didn't have a stall.
Didn't they?
My relations...
Well...
yes.
If I went on Mastermind, my specialist subject would not be your family.
All right, we'll give you a bonus point because we enjoyed your joke, Tony. But Graham Norton has a correct challenge, and there are 18 seconds left for Nicholas Parsons' Bristol relations. Graham, starting now.
I think we all know that Nicholas has had many relations in Bristol. You've heard the rumours, you've read the graffiti on walls. It's not a...
Sue challenge.
You've heard...
You've heard, yes. Too many yous, right. So we're going to hear from everybody about Nicholas Parsons' Bristol relations from this team. I'm dreading what Sue's going to say, but she has 10 seconds to embarrass me, starting now.
Nicholas comes from a long line of Barrow boys, and the good thing is so proud of his incredible heritage. There's nothing more than his ancestors like to do, or used to like to do.
Tony, you challenge
repetition of to do.
To do, yes, and you cleverly got in with half a second to go.
That's humanity!
Nicholas Parsons' Bristol relations, half a second starting now.
Lulu, one...
So, in this game, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point, and it was Tony Hawk's. Incidentally, my family was on my mother's side, by the way. They got the name right, Maggs, but it wasn't a Barrow. It was B. Maggs & Co., which was a big store in White Ladies Road.
Is that the one that's shut now?
Yes.
Muslims' pants, that's how they made the money.
No. I used to love coming down here and staying with my grandpa who used to talk like that.
It's happened again.
Western Bristol. I got a lot of cousins out here, I can tell you. Cheering us on today. Half the good noise you're in out there is coming from my family. Right. Tony.
I feel like we're in one of those kind of American revival churches where they just start speaking in tongues every now and again.
Oh, my lover.
No, the Bristolians do speak very rapidly like that. They don't talk like that
Your
sometimes.
family related to Wurzel Gummidge?
Oh, they are mean, aren't they? Absolutely. And I apologise to all of them who are listening at this present moment. Who
were listening.
Sue, will you take the next round, or start the next round? The subject now is mutton dressed as lamb. And there are 60... There's nothing personal, these things. You don't look at me like that.
Completely fine, but if the next subject I get is a pig in knickers, you're in real trouble.
60 seconds, Sue. Mutton dressed as lamb, starting now.
The first time somebody said to me I looked like mutton dressed as lamb, I was indeed wearing the pelt of a 3-year-old Herdwick sheep, and thus the comparison was accurate. The second time, however, I was...
Tony, challenge.
Repetition of time.
Yes. First time, second time. Tony, you're back in. 50 seconds still available. Tell us something further about mutton dressed as lamb, starting now.
I've always thought it's particularly unfair this expression, mutton dressed as lamb, is mainly used to describe women. Men, too, are exhibiting this on a regular basis, particularly old rock stars, who cannot accept that they are 60 or plus years old and will have ridiculous...
Oh, dear, Paul, you challenge.
So he's 60 or plus years old? What's plus? What's that? Not
well, 61 would be plus 1 year.
No, 60 and plus. You can say and plus, not
60
all plus.
or
Not 60 or plus.
No, that I think is deviation from
Yeah, it is,
the
isn't it?
understanding. Yes.
Most devious thing
60
ever
or
had.
plus.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a pickier challenge.
No, but what I do, Tony, I gave you the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, you're redressing it now.
I'm now redressing it.
I knew it.
I have to
I
listen
knew I had
and
that horrible
also remember
redressing thing
when I gave
hanging over
benefits. So, Paul, I think we give you the benefit of the doubt on this occasion, and you have the subject, and 30 seconds available. Mutton dressed as lamb, starting now.
If you go to rather dodgy restaurants, you might find lamb on the menu, but actually what you're being served from the kitchen is mutton. And I was in such an establishment the other day, and I said to the head chef, I marched into the kitchen, I said, excuse me, you are mutton.
Sue, challenge.
A repetition of said.
Oh, yes. Said the thing, and you marched in and said again.
Yes, yeah.
Right. So, Sue, you're listening well. 18 seconds still available. Mutton dressed as lamb, starting now.
Turn up to any Croydon nightclub on the hours of 11 to 1 o'clock, and I guarantee you will find there such visual treats. Women displaying themselves in all forms of man-made fibres, barely concealing their capacious...
Paul, challenge.
Well, I don't know, are we deviating slightly from mutton dressed as lamb when we talk about man-made fibres?
No, she was describing the clothes, and some of them happen to be man-made fibres.
Yes.
I had this image of people...
You're liking Sue's story, aren't you, Nicholas? You wanted to keep going.
No, I didn't particularly.
When you finish with the image, can you pass it round to us?
No, benefit of the doubt to Sue, I think you were illustrating quite well. There was a lot of mutton dressed as lamb at that nightclub, and you have 5 seconds, Sue, to continue on mutton dressed as lamb, starting now.
Boobs like space hoppers, there's nothing wrong with that.
Paul challenge.
That's not true, boobs don't like space hoppers. They see them as rivals.
So what is your challenge, Paul?
Deviation.
She was trying to give an exaggerated description of someone's
It's not exaggerated,
boobs.
Nicholas.
Well, I'm not going to argue on that one, Sue. I benefit of the doubt, Sue. No, I mean, you were giving a description in order to get a laugh, and you achieved it. Paul gets a bonus point because we enjoyed the interruption. You were interrupted. You get a point. You keep mutton dressed as lamb, and there are 2 seconds starting now.
And these females are magnificent and nothing short of splendid.
So on that occasion, Sue Perkins was speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point, and she's moved forward. She's in second place. Tony's still in the lead, and then it's Sue, and then Paul, and then Graham. In that order. Graham, will you begin the next round?
I'd love
the
to.
Subject, Adam's apple. Tell us something about Adam's apple, starting now.
Of course, Adam's apple is a bit of a misnomer because it was in fact Eve's. She was the one who wandered over to the tree and then thought, oh no, there's an orange over there, looks much nicer, I'll give that idiot this apple. And then he ate it, and it stuck in his throat, forming this lump which some men have called an Adam's apple. It's very handy if you're... No, I better not talk.
Sue Perkins, challenge.
Thank you, whoever buzzed in.
Yeah, difficult subject to keep going.
Kept his career on Radio
Sue.
4.
hesitation, a point to you. 38 seconds available. Adam's apple starting now.
I thought what happened was that Adam coughed and out of his throat popped in a huge lump that resembled an apple. Whereupon...
Tony challenge.
Did she say Anne Huge?
Well, it's Anne Hotel.
No, that's true. I was just wanted to congratulate her on her grammatical accuracy. Not enough people say Anne Huge.
No,
well done, Sue.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a clever way of getting out of it, Tony. Right, Sue, 32 seconds. Adam's apple starting now.
The apple flew through the air, whereupon it was caught by a snake who, despite having no opposable thumb, managed to fend said object perfectly. Whereupon Eve...
Graham challenge.
What's fend something perfectly mean?
Well, ask the Anne Huge man over there.
I will do a mime, which will be good for radio.
Are you suggesting she should have said fend off rather than fend?
No, I'm saying, well, one, you don't need an opposable thumb to do that. You just did that. I saw no use of thumb.
I should explain to our listeners they're gesticulating with their hands and pressing out like that to the audience.
Yeah,
that's clear now.
For instance, if you were to go down the docks and someone was to put a Hessian bag over your head, you would need an opposable thumb to fend them off successfully.
Yeah, fend off.
Yeah. I'd fend them off, but I wouldn't fend it.
You wouldn't fend it?
You've got to fend them off. Yes, Nicholas, you've got to fend them off. You should be speaking rubbish. You're right, Nicholas, you're right.
I know.
Sue, there's no more I can do for you. This is going against you, I can see it.
You've had two benefits of the doubt. Graham
Is that what you're calling them?
Graham has it on this occasion, fend off rather than fend, and there are 23 seconds. Adam's apple, back with you, Graham, starting now.
I'd forgotten all about the snake, so I'm rather glad that Sue reminded me that there was a serpent involved in the story of Adam's apple. Though, of course, as I said earlier, the woman in the place...
There seems to be a point where Graham talks about the woman where he just hesitates.
I know.
Oh, I don't know what happened to her. She was a good for nothing.
No, I thought maybe I'd said garden before. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So having him for hesitation?
Yes,
correct.
I'll have him for anything.
Right.
He knows that.
12 seconds. Adam's apple, with you, Sue, starting now.
Eve perchanced upon the apple, which sadly had been...
Paul challenge.
Repetition of Eve.
You didn't mention Eve before, did you?
I did.
Oh, well, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm a fool to myself for admitting it, but I feel I must be honourable after...
That's right. So, Paul, we're going to hear from you on Adam's apple, 10 seconds, starting now.
My friend Adam Sapple is a marvellous man. And he actually has an Adam's apple in his throat, which makes him like many other men that walk the earth. When I first met...
So Paul Merton was then speaking as a whistle when, gained that extra point. He's moved forward. He's in third place still. Tony's out in the lead, then Sue, Paul and Graham in that order. And Tony, we'd like you to begin the next round. The subject now is whales. 60 seconds starting now.
When I was first told that whales are mammals, I was staggered. They look so unlike them, to me anyway, but apparently because they breathe through their blowholes, that's the category they get. I am one.
Sue, challenge.
Is that how mammals are classified? You've got a blowhole mammal.
No, they breathe air, you see.
Well, we're mammals, we haven't got blowholes. Or have we?
We have got blowholes, but we don't talk about them.
If we don't talk about them, then how do we know we're mammals, Nicholas?
Yeah.
I think the whole thing
Look,
is
it's just a minute, it's not a bloody biology show.
more or
What
less...
sort of education did you have? When I first heard about Wales, when I was first told about America, did you go to school?
Also, you were shocked to learn they were mammals.
Yes, I was shocked to know they were.
No, in fairness, Sue, they do look like big fish.
Thank you, Graham.
Yeah, they do.
I'll give him that.
The idea of
So when you were told they were mammals, you went, I knew that all along.
What's Sue saying?
See, look at the way he runs after the ball when I throw it.
The thing is, though, if you chuck an Adam's apple at a whale, it will fend it. That's all right.
I think they've all four contributed so much in that round, in that little bit of sequence there. They all deserve bonus points each. Won't make any difference.
Hurrah! A point.
But it's the
Won't
way
make
I
a lot
like
of
to
difference if we all
reward
get
their presence and their ingenuity. Right, Tony, we allow you to keep the subject, and there are 44 seconds. Wales starting now.
I first went to Wales in 19...
Graham challenge.
Repetition of first.
I first heard.
Yes, first heard. First time you went. Right, so Graham, well listened. 42 seconds available. Wales starting now.
The first time I saw a whale, I thought to myself, ooh, aren't there a lot of calories in plankton? Because it really must be quite rich, I'm thinking, to grow into something that big on food you can't actually see. It must be pure, the word I said before.
Tony challenge.
Repetition of pure.
Pure, yes.
Did I say pure twice?
Yes, you did.
Did I? How interesting.
Well, you're so pure yourself.
Yes, I am.
The word comes naturally to mind. 25 seconds, Tony. Wales starting now.
Cardiff, Swansea, and Bangor. The last...
Sue challenge.
None of them have blowholes.
I don't know, have you ever been to Swansea?
You're quite right. Well, they might have, as far as we know.
Yeah, they might have. They might be called nightclubs.
So we loved your interjection, so we give you a bonus point for that. But he wasn't deviating from the subject of Wales, because those are all places in Wales, and you have, Tony, 22 seconds starting now.
How I love to go to the Brecon Beacons, where one can pass a very pleasurable 45 minutes strolling around the general area. Sometimes longer, should one feel so inclined.
Paul Chance.
What was the repetition of one?
One, yes. Yes, repetition of one. 12 seconds are still available for you, Paul, on Wales starting now.
Here's a nice joke. How do you weigh whales? You go to a railway station. And if you were a 5-year-old boy or perhaps a similarly aged girl, you would find that immensely amusing.
Graham Challenge.
Repetition of weigh.
Huh? A whale?
Weigh.
Weigh. Repetition of weigh.
How do you
weigh a whale? You go to a whaleway
Yeah,
station.
that's a joke.
You know what I'm saying? I understand the joke wouldn't be very funny if you didn't use the word weigh again.
How do you weigh a whale? Well, you get a really big sort of device that you can put it on.
See, I'm here to learn, Paul.
Don't come on this show and tell jokes. Sure.
Graham, 2 seconds. Wales are starting now.
Whales are more...
Paul Challenge.
God, hesitation, wasn't it? You could have made a ham sandwich then, couldn't you? No hesitation.
All right, we enjoyed Paul's interjection. Give him a bonus point. You get a point because you weren't interrupted, Graham. Wales, and 1 second left, starting now.
Fish of an enormous size with...
So Graham Norton, speaking as the whistle went, has leapt forward, and he's in second place, equal with Sue Perkins and Paul Merton, and they're trailing Tony Hawks, and that is the situation as we move into the final round. I don't know why I've suddenly gone into this dramatic voice. I suppose it's a natural actor in me that suddenly wanted to bring a sense of tension and drama into the situation.
There's a natural actor in you.
For God's sake, let him out.
So we fool around, we have fun, and that's what the show's all about.
I don't care what you do.
And we're having more fun now as we move to the final round. And Sue, would you start it? Well, it's your turn, actually.
So clinical, Nicholas.
There are 60 seconds as usual, and the subject is, how's your father? That's the subject. Tell us something about it, Sue, starting now.
The first time Nicholas mentioned how's your father, I was surprised, bearing in mind I had no idea he knew the elderly gentleman in question. I replied, he's very well, bar a slightly dodgy hip which keeps him awake at night with shards of pain coursing through his left-hand side. However, as the silver fox Nicholas Parsons looked at me with a sinister...
Tony Challenge.
Repetition of Nicholas.
Yes, we had the Nicholas before.
It's this silver fox business. Do you get the nickname because you root around dustbins late at night?
And he emits a very, very piercing mating cry.
Right. We've all heard that.
Yeah.
Paul, you know you can make those remarks about me and get away with it because the audience love it and I enjoy the laughter as well. So we give you a bonus point. At my expense, it's a test of a sense of humour.
Yes.
I should show how generous I am. Paul, it's a bonus point for that joke he made. Right. And...
If you're giving away retrospective points, I thought I was robbed in Leeds 2 years ago.
Well, if it wasn't neck and neck in the scores, I'd give you one, Sue. I'd give you one. Oh, this show, it gets you out of time.
I would speak, but there's just a little bit of sick in my mouth right now.
Again, Sue, I will display my generosity in the fact I can take a joke. Give Sue a bonus point as well. Tony has the subject. How's your father? 41 seconds, starting now.
The last time I was in Bristol recording Just a Minute, Nicholas and I went out after the show looking for a bit of How's Your Father. Went straight down to the harbour, were distracted by some whales. I said, they're mammals. He said, get away. Look at the size of that blowhole.
Sue, wait a minute. Sue, you challenge first.
Oh, I thought there was a hesitation creeping on.
No, Sue, really.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Sue.
That's too keen.
But it was not forthcoming. Forthcoming.
Forthcoming, yes.
Forthcoming.
The way you're going to come forth.
Yeah.
No, I believe that's my job.
No, Sue, it was a good try, but it was incorrect. So Tony still has the subject. How's your father? 26 seconds, starting now.
Yesterday, somebody came up to me and asked me how my father was. How's your father, they said. It was magnificent. The delivery was a Welsh accent. Doesn't matter, irrelevant to the story, but filling out...
Graham, challenge.
Well, if it's irrelevant, it must be a deviation.
Yes.
Must be. Surely.
Yes. I think that's what we call a clever challenge. So, Graham, you have the subject. There are 15 seconds available. How's your father, starting now?
How's your father? Obviously, I can't go around everyone individually. There are 1,700 people here. Some fathers probably aren't very well. Some are fabulous, and some might be here. Oh,
Tony,
some. I've said that a lot, haven't I? It's almost like I forgot the rules.
Repetition of some. Well, listen, Tony, another point to you, and 6 seconds available. How's your father, starting now?
I believe the expression came from the music hall comedian Harry Tate, who used to say, how's your father? As a
Well, Tony Hawks is speaking as a whistle. Wen gained that extra point for doing so, and the final result is a very fair one, and a very interesting one, actually, because they all gained a lot of points, they all gained tremendous value, but Paul Merton, Sue Perkins, and Graham Norton were equal, all of them in second place. And the man who last time we were in Bristol complained that he couldn't
He was useless the last time. Do you remember? He was awful. Awful.
I don't know why we had him back.
Tony, you had the most points, so we say this week you are the winner. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you. And so it only remains for me to say thank you to these fine players of the game, Paul Merton, Sue Perkins, Graham Norton and Tony Hawks. I thank Trudy Stevens, who's helped with the score and blown her whistle so magnificently. We're indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. We're grateful to our producer, Talusha Galani, and we are very grateful to this lovely audience of the Colston Hall here in Bristol, the home of my grandparents, who cheered us on our way magnificently from this lovely audience here in Bristol, and from me, Nicholas Parsons, and the team. Goodbye, thank you, and tune in the next time we play Just a Minute.